both police and fire, something must be done, and this is one avenue. We rely on them to guide us. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, that's obviously that's your decision. That's you guys' decision. But I would stand on putting in their hand to help us to help guide us in our decisions.
So, and I appreciate your feedback on that, Deputy Mayor. Where I'm having the we are it is critical, right? And so with that, I think we could pivot. We've got debt services coming that are coming off, right? So right now we have station number 7, and this is all just part of the discussion. We have station number 7 that's already in play. So with that debt services, we might be able, in looking at it, we might be able to have maintain that debt services, but be able to borrow and get 2 fire stations that are critically needed. We've also added enough police and fire. So let's take this step. But I want to share with you, you're spot on. The difference is back in the 90s, you've heard me mention these vision boards. And in those vision boards, people came to this dais. Of course, we weren't on there. People came to this dais with a vision of where we should go. And part of that board is everyone participating, and they were the ones that were directing us. This is what we need. I think maybe we take a step back, allow that to progress. In the meantime, we put up 2 stations, continue to have workshops, and see where we can go, tighten ourselves up before we even move forward. But you're spot on. We can and we need those fire stations. We really do. That's the only way we're going to reduce sometimes. So those are my thoughts on that. I do have a consensus, so I think, are we good? I know that we're going to
Yes,
move
sir.
forward, but we're
Yeah,
on
I'm
the
good.
same
I'm good.
page. All right, sir. So right now we're on item. Yeah, we're on item new business number 1, and now we have public comments. What has been discussed is removing the language of that dedicated public safety millage. That's what's been discussed, and right now we have consensus for that. So, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. John McGee.
Thank you. John McGee, 1991 Thornwood Drive, Bayside Lakes. I want to be very brief, but I support the fire and the police and the expansion and the materials and the resources that our agencies need. Palm Bay is growing at a fast rate, and our public safety utilities, our agencies are not keeping up with the demand. We're seeing more crime, more accidents, more traffic, more fires. So from my standpoint of having worked over 20 years with public safety agencies around the world, I know that the demand on those agencies is critical to the life of the people who live in this city. We cannot continue, however, to have this out of control growth, because we will constantly be playing catch up with our public safety agencies if we continue to build as we are. So I'm asking the city council to consider putting a moratorium on all new project developments, especially housing developments, for at least 2 years, maybe 3, till we can decide how we are going to approach our public safety resources going forward and get the number of police officers, fire officers, and provide them the pay so they won't get trained here and then go someplace else and serve. So I would like to see the city develop. What is the total cost of this going to look like over the next 5 years? How many police officers do we need? How many fire officers do we need? How many stations do we need for police? How many automobiles, vehicles, and other training that goes into this? And let's develop a public safety comprehensive plan for the next 5 years. But in order to do that, you got to put a halt to this massive out of control building. Because we will never catch up with the demands of public safety if we continue to build the way we're building. So the city has had some issues in the past with the confidence of the citizens and how you're spending your money and what cost overruns have been incurred on projects. And I know that there was a public safety audit or a forensic audit that had been approved, but it was not funded. So I would like to see an audit of the city's finances for the last 5 years, and let's find out, where are we? What are we spending? What can be cut? And then, like Mr. Johnson said, maybe, and the mayor said, maybe there's a way that we can fund these things in long-term loans, long-term project development, long-term bond referendums, and catch up with our public safety resources. But if we continue to build the way we're building, we're never going to catch up. It's never going to happen. We'll just build and build and build, and we'll have more police and more fire requirements, and yet we won't have the resources to do it. So we have a chance here to take a pause and kind of look at where are we going with all of this. I support public safety 1,000%. Like, that was my life. We've seen cities where they've cut funding for police and fire, and it never works out very well.
Thank you. Mr. McGee, just so that you know, we have done studies on impact fees, and we've recognized transportation-wise, it's been over 12 years. We had that study just recently, and you're spot on. That's a way that you could keep up with that growth, and so that's what we're looking to do as well. We discussed that last meeting. Next speaker,
Mr. Bill Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. First, I commend you for your pulling of the phase of the 2 millage rate. I commend you for that. I also recommend approval, though, for the second portion, which was given the attorneys the power. And to summarize what I was going to talk to you on, since you're not doing it, I don't need to go through my whole spiel and take longer time. But there's a couple of important subtitles that are there. I agree. The solution to this problem was stop the growth that does not equal the safety capacity. We know what we have to have, but we're already exceeding that. So you need to stop the growth that's allowing this to put us out of balance. That's number one. All right, police, fire, and infrastructure, all the way across the board. Those are the three things that you're responsible for: police, fire, and infrastructure. That's the only thing you're responsible for. Excuse me. You brought up the fact of impact fees. Well, Bill Batten, being the idiot that he is, he went and looked at impact fees. $300 impact fees for police, $600 for impact fee for fire. But here's the real clincher where you put the wrong priorities. $1,300 for parks and recreation under impact fees. Those should be 100% reversed. It should be your safety as your priority, not your entertainment as your priority. Slow the growth, look at your impact fees, and get your priorities correct. Parks and recreations is not the high priority of the city of Palm Bay. That's my personal opinion. Thank you very much.
well, thank you, Mr. Batten. Master Chief, as you know, our transportation impact fees has been over 12 years from that last presentation. Carry on.
Mr. Michael Bouillet.
Michael J. Prietti, 742 Cornelia Avenue, Palm Bay, 32909. Mine is just a question. The property tax raises here, the proposal that was put on the table was set at 2 mil, I believe. The 2 mil versus the Palm Bay Charter, the 3% raise was the annual that you could go. But there's another component here in collecting taxes here. What about builder impact fees? Doesn't seem like the builders are paying enough if they want to keep piling houses into Palm Bay with no resources. Can we get any clarification for the public? That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
I think we just spoke on impact fees and the possibility of, we just had a study regarding impact fees.
Yeah,
So
go ahead, Mayor.
we just spoke about transportation impact fees in particular. It's been 12 years since, that's even before Councilman Johnson sat on this dais. So those things are being looked at, and we have consensus to move in that direction. The study has taken so long. When I suggested that, what was it, 2 years ago or so, just a little over 2 years, and now is when that study's been completed. So now it's about to be implemented. Ideally, that's exactly where we're going. Next speaker.
Mr. Kearns.
Good evening, Council. David Kearns, 668 Dunbarton Circle Northeast, Palm Bay. I applaud you for the decision to pull us at this time. I suspect in election season, you got a lot of feedback about more taxes, and that's understandable. I was just on Port Malabar Boulevard yesterday putting signs out, and there was a stream of people, getting free meals from the Second Harvest Food Bank. There was, and I asked the lady, she said like 200 people per day are getting. So, I mean, these are our neighbors, and they're feeling the pinch, and it's tight. It's very tight right now. They're all like this. And we also have to consider that property insurance right now is at our throats as well. My property insurance is tripled in 4 years. It's crazy. So this is a good decision to pull it and move it to a different time period. Hopefully when we have 5 members on the council this time. And there's another thing I noticed too, is that the times that were referenced in the last meeting, the response times, the 18, 19 minutes, I started driving down to the south end of the city, and I was just amazed at the annexations that had taken place since I was more active here. And now we're annexing right up against Barefoot Bay, and I don't see any houses on these new areas that we've annexed. It's huge. The annexations, I think, were highly irresponsible from the previous council and were a result of some backroom deals going on. I mean, it was all over the news, some of the stuff that was going on. It was kind of disgraceful. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we can look at possibly de-annexing some of that territory so that we have a more realistic idea of what actual response times are to population centers, to real areas where people live. So I don't know if that's a possibility, to de-annex something that is not, because there's lots of territory down there that's just open space. I know Palm Bay is crowded up here, but the planning for these developments that went during that period just was irresponsible. So that's my question, and thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mayor, would you want Ms. Sherman to weigh in on the
Yeah.
question?
On the de-annexation, usually that's the state, but carry on, man.
Yeah, typically the de-annexation process would be a property owner requesting de-annexation. I would have to consult the city attorney about any processes for a council to decide to de-annex.
So exactly as the city manager indicated, it's kind of the reverse of what happens normally when they're trying to annex in. So in order for us, we could de-annex them, but if they don't want to go, then they're going to still remain a part of the city.
And then, and to the argument of the insurance, I wholeheartedly agree. Our homeowners insurance is way up there, and that's part of what the taxes. It just comes in there in one bill. Your mortgage payment, that escrow comes all in one bill. So sometimes it's hard to differentiate what's the property tax, what's the homeowner's insurance sometimes, but that it's just a big chunk. So I hear what you're saying, but that is a state issue, and ideally the legislators will take that on this year. I know that there was some feedback with that. Carry on, Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mike Hammer.
How's it going? Mike Hammer, 874 Underhill, Palm Bay, 32909. First thing I want to do is say thank you, Rob Medina, for stepping up and being here for the people. The first thing that I want to say is I'm glad that you guys are looking at yourself to make cuts instead of expecting us to make cuts. That really means a lot. But I also want to say, as I don't want to put this down, I want to have a discussion. I would really like to see a workshop on this, because if everything is as bad as it is, we need to address it right now. I think if we have a workshop and we try to find a way right now is the smartest thing we can possibly do, because this is 18 minutes is unacceptable. I used to be a firefighter and I have family that's police officers. And this is something that is, it's life and death, actually. The other thing also when it comes to that is impact fees on there. There's a lot of places around, or a lot of municipalities that are in situations like this. What they do is they work with their developers and they get the impact fees up front before the development is actually made. So your police and fire stations are built before the houses are in. So that's actually an option that can be weighed, especially they haven't been addressed in 12 years. I think we need some discussion on that. The other thing, I do approve on the attorney being able to hire his own people within. I think that's very important, that somebody experienced in that position should have a say in what goes on in there. But with addressing that, I think it should be done citywide. I think if utilities wants to hire somebody, utilities handles it. I think if Public Works wants to handle, or they want to hire somebody, Public Works does it. Then they address HR and other staff with it. But if you're gonna let one, if you're gonna let one department choose, we need to let them all. And I think that's gonna bring a lot more experienced people in here. When you have people that have been in the field all day long, picking who their boss is gonna be. I think that's gonna be a very important thing. And I have other things, but I don't have enough time. I am also gonna say we're gonna have candidates speaking at the church, the house church there in Palm Bay on Saturday. Anybody wants to come, you're more than welcome to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Pastor Delgado.
Ken Delgado, 154 Angelo Road, Southeast Palm Bay. I'm sorry, I'm still down under in Australia, so I'm getting my Eastern Standard Time up to date. Praise God. I'd like to just say a couple of things. I'm going to look at this on the spiritual side, if I may, just because I'm a pastor and that's just what I do. Back in Samuel, God was speaking to the people who wanted a king, and he said to them, don't get a king. If you get a king, he says he's going to take the best of your fields, your vineyards, your olive groves. He's going to give them to your courtiers. He's going to take 1/10 of your grains and of your vintage, and it's going to give it to his officials. He goes on to say he'll also take 1/10 of your flocks. And so we see that the danger of that can be is that those in authority want to pick someone else's pocket. And this time, as someone else said, if there are difficulties and cuts that need to be made, don't you know that every person in Palm Bay is already making cuts in their own budget to try to meet the needs that they have for their own families? It's not one way, it goes both ways. If you're in difficulty, just know you're a representation of the people. It's because the people are in difficulty. When there's prosperity, that's a different story. When there's tightness, it's everybody. And so don't demand of us what you don't do and demand of yourselves. I would go along those other lines. But what other answers do we have? Spiritual. How about pray for multiplication? How about pray? I say, why pray? Listen, some time ago, my wife was mowing the lawn, and yes, she mows the lawn. I won't go into that, but while she's mowing, she said, Lord, I could use some pavers, and we could buy them right now. But somewhere on the beach side, there's probably someone who doesn't want their pavers anymore. 2 weeks later, someone sends her some pictures and said, hey, Betsy, do you know anyone who needs pavers? And don't you know is the exact amount it needed to pave all our little flower areas? Look what prayer can do. How about prayer for, hey, Lord, give us wisdom to know what to buy? Don't you know that we just bought 4 toilets for our church at the house where we're going to interview the candidates so we know who's voting. And don't you know that when we went to look for those toilets, they were all on sale and we got it for less than the average price? What if you started praying and saying, God, multiply what we have and show us where we can do. And when we do have to buy something, give us some favor where we can find the same thing for less and watch what God can do versus what we can do.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mr. Stice?
Good evening, Robert Stice, 1796 Winbrook Drive, Southeast. Mayor, you're exactly right. Food has gone up. Gas has gone up. Home maintenance goods have gone up. I don't even go out to eat anymore. Okay, and you talk about not only quality and service. This is the worst economy in over 30 years. Okay, we need to start looking and start spending what we have. I mentioned that several times before. On this mill rate, I'm looking at what my house is worth. It would cost me about $600 if we went that direction. Well, you know what? I already spent $600. My auto insurance went up $300. My homeowner's insurance went up $300. And I'm not going to hand you my wallet. Okay? That's enough for us. Listen, as the pastor would say, listen to the cry of the people. They've had enough. I'm not even going to get into the traffic. Deputy Mayor, you and I have chatted about traffic before, when it takes 25 minutes to go from, Babcock all the way to the highway. It's insane. You understand you're understanding the problem, but your proposed solution is unacceptable and not sustainable. Are you hearing the folks? Are you hearing the folks? Are you hearing the folks? I get an earful just walking down the neighborhood. I get an earful when I bump into people, whether it's Publix or Lowe's or BJ's or whatnot. They're all singing the same thing. When is it going to stop? How can you have an 18 to 20 minute response time for fire? You're putting your fellow residents in inherent danger. Okay? That's got to be unacceptable for anybody who works at the city. How do you solve that? There's a couple ideas going on with that, but you just can't say, well, we're working on it. That doesn't happen. And I understand that one fire that we had where it rained on started by, a lightning storm. Like I said, 2 years ago, the previous fire chief said your house is engulfed in 8 minutes. What happens in 20 minutes? How many houses are aflame? How many fatalities or major injuries do we have? So please consider this. This is just, you had some great speakers up here today talking about facts, talking about reality, talking about people's lives. Everybody is holding things close to the vest. We're not going out unless you have to, but there are people who are using their Visa cards to make house payments, to buy food. Okay, now's the time to hunker down and work with what we have. Okay, and try to improve our quality of life, because thinking that we can solve everything on impact fees is not reality. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Miss Lauren Broom?
Lauren Broom, 2613 Tennyson Avenue, Southeast, Palm Bay, Florida, 32909. And I came up here specifically because I do have a family and I've lived in this city for 40 years. And I've been here before to talk to you guys. You're adding another thing on top of everything else that us families living here, we're all middle class, working very hard. I don't know if state agencies and city agencies know what they're doing. There's a big disconnect between all of you. Like, I'm on septic. You mandated that whenever you feel to tell me I'm connecting the sewer, I have to pay connection fees for water and sewer. Well, by 2030, I have to upgrade my septic system to the new system because I have the old system. That's going to cost me $25,000. Say you come by in 5 years and tell me sewer's available, you got to connect now. I just wasted $25,000 to upgrade a septic system for state government. And now I got local government at the city level adding another fee. Plus I got homeowners insurance down my back, having me to spend $25,000, $30,000 every 15 years to replace my roof or my hot water heater or whatever else they deem. How am I going to retire in this city down the road? I have 3 kids, and it's bad enough that my 20-year-old realizes she's not going to move out of my house until she's in her 30s. She's going to be a teacher in this city, and she can't even qualify to rent a $1,500 apartment in the city. Qualify for a lease, I would have to co-sign. And she has a bachelor's degree. She's going to graduate in December from UCF, lives here, born here. How is she going to live in this city if there's not affordable living for a teacher? If we start taking teachers and we make it unaffordable for them to live here, they don't need to be married. We don't need people to be married to be able to pay for something. A teacher should be able to afford to live here. We don't have any affordable living. Every apartment complex going up is luxury apartments. She can't afford that. We need something that they can afford that's going to be affordable living. So you got to look at what we're going through at this end. You add now 3%. They've already mentioned I've got 4 cars at my house. Do you know how much I spend a year on car insurance? 10 grand. Okay. It's $1,374 every 6 months for a 16-year-old to drive now. Okay. And I shop it around. I shop everything around. I'm dreading my homeowner's insurance coming in. Okay. I can't keep being nickel and dime from state, county, city, and this company and that company. That stock market right now is at 40,000 because it's a barometer of rich people, not us middle class. So I hope you think about that when you guys vote on this, because you're going to, were you going to be California and we're all homeless and you're going to get rid of homeless encampments? Because we're going to have a lot more homeless here. What are you going to do when that happens? So you guys got to really think about how you vote.
Did you see that we're removing that? That was part of the discussion early on. But to your point, when it comes to those aerobic septic systems, we are working with the state because of that mandate. They wanted us to mandate to hook up to sewer.
Yeah, by 2030, we have to upgrade to an aerobic system, and it's $25,000.
Ma'am, can I just share with you where we're at with that? We continue to work with the state because that's an impossible feat for us to switch from our septic systems to the aerobic systems. And we continue. I know that Deputy Mayor, myself, the city manager, that was the #1 item on our agenda when we went to Tallahassee. And they'll hear it from us again. We are not one of these cities that was founded on building that infrastructure first. So there's several in our sprawl that is affecting so many of us, and we're only 64 years old. So we hear you. We were way ahead of this, and we're going to continue to fight this because it is something that we just can't obtain.
I don't have I'm just going to say, I don't have the money for all that while trying to get through. I have a 16-year-old and a 7-year-old trying to get through everything else. It's an impossibility that I'm going to be living in a cardboard box because I won't be able to afford to retire here.
I'm not going to say that, but thank you.
I will be, because there's no way we can afford everything that you keep mandating on us.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
This complete public comments.
So gentlemen, I just want to touch base like I began. We could start with the removal of the proposed ballot language concerning the dedicated public safety millage, and to move forward with the proposed ballot language relating to the hiring of the assistant attorneys. I wanted just to share, Councilman Johnson, when we start thinking about what we can do today, right, is affecting our response time. So we can go into, we have a release of debt services that are coming in. We could roll up our tea leaves and say, hey, this is, excuse me. What we need to do is look at working on those debt services, and whatever we could get to bond those two different fire stations that can immediately provide some relief for our citizens when it comes to public safety. So that being said, that's where I would like to go. I think Deputy Mayor has another speaker.
Ms. Gloria Cliff? Ma'am? Gloria? Oh, I'm sorry.
Gloria. Who did you call? Gloria?
I'm Gloria Cliff.
Okay, well, Miss Gloria Cliff is up now, so she'll speak. Gloria Cliff.
Hi, I'm Gloria Cliff. I live at 141 North Grove Street, Southeast Palm Bay, 32909. Okay, they're building houses near where we live. And ECO was doing it. ECO was the builder.
Okay, is this, ECO? Is this, all right, Ms. Gloria, we're talking about the charter amendment. So we'll have to call you back if you want to speak about ECO.
Yeah,
okay?
but the idea is they had
Ma'am,
dumpsters.
Well, I'm going to have to call you back.
Okay.
Well, I'll call you. I promise you I'll call you back, ma'am. We're just dealing with this item right now. Deputy Mayor?
So new business one is, it's complete. All cards are been.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. So
I got it.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve new business one with removal of the language for a dedicated public safety millage.
I'll second it.
Go ahead.
Deputy Mayor or Councilman?
There's nothing really else to be said. Everybody else said everything. We agree with you. I do want to address a few things that were said, and a lot of it pertains to the state. The state put the mandate on us to mandate septic to sewer. The state is what decided with insurance for the houses, and Florida is the only state that doesn't cover bodily injury hazard insurance. Out of the 50 states, we're the only state. So there's a lot of things that we're going to have to work hard on with our state in addressing things that they're passing it on to us. Yes, they're increasing insurance, home insurance, but then they're homesteading, which is putting it on us. So they're kind of passing the buck where we got to find a resolution. So I hear everybody. We hear what you're saying, and we're seeing it as well. But even with the advanced septic to sewer, Bill Batten said it a few months ago. I agree with them. Somebody's getting paid. I'll say it. I see it for what it is, but we can only control what we can control, but let's work together on it. So that's it, Mayor. I appreciate you, sir.
Well, thank you. And I wanted to add, listen, this dais has really improved our public safety. I just want to share just a few highlights. We've added 40 sworn personnel. We've added new replacement vehicles, 132 vehicles with a price tag of $6.7 million. Everything is going up. We've added and invested 35 new fire positions. We've invested over $5 million to replace those older vehicles and add new ones to expand our fleet. New 2 engines, a ladder 7, plus proposing in tonight's meeting over $6 million in impact fees to purchase a new water tender in Southeast and 3 high quality double brush trucks with 5 squad vehicles. So we are doing what we can with our public safety. It's important to know we're funding a new tower. We funded a new tower fire station that was over $588,000. We've replaced radio equipment that cost $676,000. Folks, that's a lot of money for radios. But those are the costs. Just like you paying at the pump, just like you're paying for your milk and paying for bread, everything is rose. It's risen so high. From the time since COVID, everything is just about twice, and skilled labor is unbelievable. So just want to let you know we are tightening our belts. We've invested life-saving equipment. I love the Lucas devices. That I've seen that in action, and over $8 million for new fire station number 7. So just to let you know, I wanted to highlight those things. Staff has done a good job in directing us to try and get the most out of what we can. So when this proposal came, it was about what else can we do. I feel that right now is not the right time, because we're all feeling the pinch. And I love how, I don't remember your name, man, but you said we're all feeling the pinch, and you're absolutely right. And I say that, and I got to share this. Maybe it's the wrong time to share this, but right now, my wife, God bless my wife, but my My son's wife is about to have baby number 6 this evening. So right before I'm coming here, I'm thinking about, come on, number 6, right? So anyway, I seconded your motion, sir. Any other further discussion, Deputy Mayor? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Passes 2-1. So we are now on public hearings number 1. Public comments, as you were. Public comments.
Miss Cliff?
Yeah, Gloria, Miss Cliff, thank you.
Cliff, 141 Norgrove Street, Southeast Palm Bay. Okay, you guys, everybody's building houses. A lot of houses are not even finished because they have stop order on ECO. Now, finally, they got rid of the dumpsters that were sitting there for about a year, filled up. Garbages from the dumpster is all over the place. Whose responsibility is to clean up? I've called everybody. Oh, well, if it goes in the road, then we'll come and clean it. But it sits on the side of the road. Who's going to pick it up and clean it? I was told, why don't you get out there and clean it? We pay to have a nice neighborhood. You can't even walk over there. You're afraid of what's going to come out of the woods or come out of these dumpsters. And why are they building so many houses? They can't even finish them. Or they're just sitting there. There's a house across the street from us. It's been on the market for 2 years. Nobody wants to buy it because they're too expensive. Well, they got to do something. They got to stop building, stop clearing land for the animals. Because where are these animals going to go? You're clearing all this land, but you're not doing anything. You may start a house, put the foundation. That's as far as it goes. We have a lot of houses in our neighborhood that's been started. The wood is rotting because it's been sitting there for over a year and they're not being built. Something's got to get done. Why are they you guys letting them clear land, start building houses and not do anything about it? You know, there's something's got to be done about this. You know, it's ridiculous. There's a lot of people can't afford them, so they're sitting there, and pretty soon you're going to have a lot of vandalism because houses have been sitting.
Are these they're ECO?
ECO houses around us that they had a stop order on them, and it's been sitting there. There's like 6 houses. Finally, they let 2 of them that were totally done, finished, go. But the rest of them, you want to see the dirt, the grass is growing there. They haven't finished them. One at the corner of my street down there, the wood is black already.
Of the house that's not finished?
The house hasn't even been started. What they did was put a foundation.
I see.
And nothing else. You know, and then there's on Holloran. There's 2 houses there. They haven't done anything.
Okay. Perhaps I could get you some answers, Gloria. Madam Sherman?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Cliff, I will have John Pearson, who's our chief building official, talk to you a little bit tonight to tell you what we've been working on. But just so that the council and everyone knows, we have seen an increase in builders who pull the permits, like you're saying, and they start the work, but then they don't finish it. We've had issues lately with, more than lately, people who don't pay their dumpster fees. So then the dumpster starts to overflow. So John Pearson and his team, they're aggressively going after these developers as we speak. We're looking at liens. We're looking at the potential, in some cases, to even pursue demolition of the structure that's partially built but not finished, especially if it's been abandoned. So we're looking at a lot of different things to fix that for you. I'll have him talk to you, and then I'll also have him review the trash situation as well to see what we can do in the neighborhood and make sure that all the ones you're talking about are on our list. And if they're not, we'll work on those for you too. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. It's been increasing with a couple builders in particular.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Gloria. Go, see, John, raise your hand.
Okay, I'll be
Th-
right there. I gotta get my
Thank
popsicle.
you, Gloria. Next speaker.
Ms. Dora Quandra?
Good evening, gentlemen. Member, I'm gonna read it because it's gonna be easy for me to read the complaint, you know?
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to the council member. I live in 1126 Homer Street, 32907 Northwest. I would like to present my concern and complain about the negligence to ditch my canal and the culvert pipe blocked by mudslide caused by stormwater. Since January of this year, I've been called to the public service to request to ditch the canal with no success to do it. The culvert pipe cover the water from one side, you know, to convey the water from one side to the other one, but it's completely black. I was in touch with Mr. Dennis, the customer service. I've been talking to him and he said, I'm gonna send an inspector. I didn't know if the inspector came in and he said he did, but I'm waiting since January. I called him in May and nothing happened. Then I called the chairman here, Mrs. Susan. She never called me back. I left 3 messages and she's ignoring me as well as Mr. Dennis lately. I don't know why they are not answering me. My concern that they started ditching my black Homer, but stopped in my house and then 2 neighbors from the right and to the left. They didn't do it. I don't know why it's not doing it when the culvert pipe is completely black. So I'm concerned about that, and I called Mr. Medina, the office, and complained, and the secretary said that she's gonna get in touch with the manager of the public service. But I never have any phone call since last week. So I wanna ask you to do this job as soon as possible because the water stay for a long time and also mosquitoes start growing up over there. And I don't wanna have that happen. I'm a widow and I'm not gonna do it by myself because I'm paying to the city my bills. And my husband died, and I came here in 2013 complaining about the encroachment of the back of the lot, and still I have problem. And I already talked to the code of ordinances, Mrs. Martinez, I think, and she gave me a number, you know, a case number. So I want you to put when they're gonna do it because they started in my block, but they didn't continue. I just want to complain about this and do it as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dora. Thank you, Madam Sherman.
Thank you, sir. I'll have Valentino Perez, our Public Works Director, get with Mrs. Quadra
Yeah.
this
Ms.
evening.
Dora, I want you to stand up for 1 second. Valentino, raise your hand. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if
That's not Valentino.
that's I don't know, but that's typically not his personality. Madam Sherman, is it okay?
Yeah, Valentino.
Mr.
We'll
Mr.
talk to
Perez, would you please meet? Okay, thank you. Dora.
We've
Okay, Ms. Dora, go ahead and go meet with Mr. Valentino. Thank you. Next speaker.
Miss Lisa Jackson?
Hi, Ms. Jackson.
Hey there. How you doing tonight?
Well,
Lisa Jackson, 589 Trumpet Street, Southwest. Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of citizens who aren't able to be here. When I'm running errands, I engage folks in conversation. I've learned we as a community have a lot in common. People care about saving trees and wildlife habitat and are frustrated with the rapid development. Some are moving away because so much is changing and not in a good way. Some email city officials and feel they don't get heard. From what I've heard and experienced, there appears to be an epidemic in our city government. That epidemic is called silence. I'm hearing from more and more people that no one is responding to emails or phone calls. I emailed you all about saving our trees, quoting city codes and offering possible solutions. No one responded to my first email, so I tried again, asking if any of you care about saving the trees. It's an honest question, and it's clear I'm passionate about it. But perhaps y'all are more concerned with schools, the police force, or the rising crime rate, and that's fine. But it would be helpful to know that by responding to my email instead of not responding at all. Only one person responded to me. After my 3-minute comment on recycling, you requested that someone in city government follow up with me. No one ever has. Is it just lip service? Your tagline at meetings is Palm Bay, the greatest city on the face of the earth, and that's a very positive statement. But what does it mean? What makes it great in your eyes? Is it the community members or perhaps the natural environment that we're losing every day to development? Are you in alignment with this? Is it what you want? Everywhere, a new apartment building is going up, or a car wash, or storage unit, or drive-through coffee place. Developers seem to be able to do whatever they want. The city has potential for sure, but it's only seen for the money to be made from it. The sound of trees being ripped from the ground is painful to those of us who care about nature and feel a connection to it. And I get that there's still 2/3 of Palm Bay available to develop, as one city official told me. But some of that 1/3 is in my neighborhood. Daily, huge construction vehicles are parked on my street, unloading cement blocks and leaving trash everywhere, sometimes arriving at 7 a.m. on Saturday. The peace I once enjoyed on my porch is now violated by the constant sound of construction. If it's not in your backyard, I imagine you don't care, but I'm asking you to care because it's in my backyard. And also there are abandoned houses in my neighborhood too, like that other lady said. We voted you in to represent us. The citizens of Palm Bay don't want this rapid development. What are your plans to slow it down? Can you put a moratorium on the building? This is an election year. I think more than ever you'd want to listen to us and not stand on platitudes of what you might do for the city. The one solution. I propose we have town meetings. Instead of just giving us 3 minutes to talk with you, hear what you have to say, dialogue with us, discuss any actions you can take to slow down the growth that is quickly destroying our once peaceful town. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And for the record, I remember your name, and I know I responded to an email. I remember that. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. For the record, I just wanted to state that.
Mayor, if I
Yes.
may address Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson, if I may address you, would you consider serving on our sustainability board? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, I know that we had discussed about the tree ordinance, tree removal ordinance. I know that we've discussed that. And if there's a clearing of a property, given a certain amount of time, that the builder would have to rightfully build on their property. Where are we on that?
I believe some of those changes are going to be part of our land development code discussion next week.
Okay. All right.
Including the discussion we've had for a while. It did get included, I believe, about the lot clearing permits. So, our current ordinance, if it's a standard 1/4 acre lot, you don't have to pull a permit right now, but we're looking at changing that. So that's going to come forth too.
So, Ms. Lee says, you see, we are listening to you and we are taking action. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Next speaker.
Mr. Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I've got 2 items under public comments. Item number 1 was I drove by the facilities unit on DeGroot Road, and I was very happy and very impressed when I saw, I'm not sure which department it was, facilities department or public works, whoever it was, but I saw a training going on with two brand new John Deere tractors, and they had everybody being trained, which I thought was the best way to get people excited about the equipment. And it just made me feel good because that's what's going to help lower some of the problems that we're having. They'll have the equipment on the site solving the problem. And the way they got there was they held the training with the two brand new. Oh, that's right. These should be my tractors, but they're not. Okay. Either way, that's item number one. I saw the training and I appreciate it. Item number two, we've heard talk, in fact, it was even part of your conversation at the last council meeting on why you did not approve the 2 mil item for the election. And that was because of the IG or the Attorney General. And I'm saying, well, they haven't even talked about what that really is. You're holding your conversations. You all knew what was being discussed about it there, and that's why you had that here on the dais. But nobody even knows what the conversation is that you were having, the fact that we were considering having another charter member on the board. What that even, do you have any rough ideas? Tell the public what you're anticipating of a cost, what that charter position is going to be, or is it going to be a 60 word ballot that we have to vote on that we don't even understand yet? That's how it would have appeared. So the public doesn't know what it is you're considering putting on your board, on your, what do we want to call it, our charter members. So if you could at least explain to the public at least once, because I don't even know, and I try to follow what it is you're looking at and what it was going to cost me. Thank you very much.
Master Chief, you're absolutely right. At last meeting, we brought that up to be part of the charter amendment discussions. We mixed it all in, along with according to what you preferred, sunsetting the 3% cap was suggested as well. And when we got briefed, I know that I was briefed, so individually briefed, but it was said that the timing didn't fit. So what I wanted was the IG proposal or the comptroller proposal that Councilman Johnson felt we should do, and I'm fully on board with that. But even more so, I wanted to revert back to the way the charter read, how we fill a position, a vacancy on this. So and in that information, that came that ship has sailed when it came to the time frame and the advertisement. So I'm in agreement with you. I'd like for perhaps to our city manager to share that, but I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to discuss that as well. I just hit a little bit on it that I wanted to revert back, but thank you, Master Chief. Madam Sherman, would you break down why we couldn't add anything else?
Yeah, essentially in a conversation last week with the city clerk and city attorney, going through the timeline for the first and second hearings, going through the deadline for the supervisor of elections to submit the referendums. The city clerk made us aware that there wasn't enough time to do the advertisement because the advertisements actually for the second hearing, which is Tuesday, August 13th, those ads actually were due to the newspaper on Wednesday of this week. So there wasn't enough time, according to the city clerk and that schedule that she works off of to accomplish that task.
Yes, sir. So it was a timing issue with advertisement. And once that came out, I was, that changed the complexity of all our conversation at last meeting. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, Mayor. Ms. Dapra?
Pat Dalper, 410 Georges Avenue Northeast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to give you kudos for changing your mind on the tax thing. So thank you. And I think we're all in agreement that it's wrong timing. But I also would like to say thank you for all the citizens for showing up tonight, because many people complain, but they don't come here. And so I keep trying to tell people, show up. So that's one reason why CDF or Citizens Defending Freedom are doing these Meet the Candidates. So we have last one at at the House Church, 1520 Bottomless Drive, Northeast Palm Bay. So that would be August 10th. That's our last one before the primary. And one of the reasons why we're doing it is to get people out and, as we say, talk to the candidates. And we need you guys to talk to us more often one-on-one sometimes. And so citizens really need to get out, talk to the candidates, vote. And the reason why we are doing them right now at the churches is that our lowest turnout of citizens are the Christians. 40% are not registered or do not vote. And they need to get out of this feeling that they're not supposed to get involved in politics. They've been duped. So they need to be involved. The Constitution was written from biblical principles. And if they were not involved, we wouldn't be here today. So the Constitution was made for a moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate to government of any other. That was by John Adams. And his son, John Quincy Adams, said, duty is ours, results are God's. So if there are people who are listening today, if you're not registered, get out and get yourself registered. And if you haven't been voting, you need to get out and vote so that you can't complain about who's in office if you don't do your part. I also want to reiterate with the builders, I think I brought up to you, Suzanne, about clearing the lots before they're planning, because they could sit for a year, 2 years, and all that junk grows back. And also the way that they're building them up high. Did you ever see that one building? They're not being respectful to their neighbors. So they're here, the other neighbor's down here. The slant goes right into their yard. That's unacceptable. So accountability in the building department.
Thank you, ma'am. Are you able to address those heights? I know they've come before based on septic, the Brevard County Health. So can you just touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I know the team does try to work through that when they're reviewing the plans that come through. One of the issues has been that there have been changes at the state level for septic tank installations that have affected basically the elevation of the site. So there's a little bit of opportunity the staff has to work to try to reduce that, to try to make it fit better with the surrounding neighboring properties if they're already developed. But some parts of that are outside of our control because of the septic permit.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Pastor Delgado. Ken Delgado, 154 Angelo Road, southeast in the greatest city of the earth, that is Palm Bay, Florida. Listen, I realize that you come here and you get all the bad news. I thought I'd bring some good news. I know you come here and you have to batten down the hatchet. But I thought I'd give some good news for a minute, just for a minute. I know you guys missed this great event that happened in June. You were on vacation. It's understandable. But balloons were raised, flags were raised, honor was given. I turned 70.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good news. This is good news. And so, but listen, I just have the good news as the pastor that I am, something that's so familiar to so many people. I just thought I'd just throw it out there for good news. For God so loved the world, and the world is all of us, that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. I like the word so loved. He didn't just love, he so loved. That means it elevates it to a level that we cannot understand. And it says so that the world who believes in him would be saved. That word save is actually not just eternal life. It's hope for healing. It's hope for provision. It's hope for salvation. It's hope for health. It's hope for any area, for the person who is in the dark places of depression. It is hope for the addicted. It's hope for those who are in slavery. It's hope for the world. That's the love. That when we trust and believe in Jesus Christ, there's a door that opens up to people and to the city of Palm Bay and to its inhabitants, that they can experience life that they've never experienced before. It's not something I can really relate in words. It's something you experience. And when you experience that salvation, when you experience that love, you never go back to what you used to be. Let me tell you, you might see me here really, really good, looking good and real nice. But listen, there was a time I was not looking good and I was not so nice. And you all better be glad that I got saved while I lived here in Palm Bay, because it may not have been the same had it not been for Jesus Christ. It's so. And so just wanted to give you some good news so that you can smile a little bit, kind of go, just a little bit of fresh water. God bless you all. Thank you. Love you all.
God bless you. Next speaker.
Mr. Robert Stice. Tough act to follow, sir.
Do we have that picture, sir? You know, when you do batten down the hatches, it does get a little claustrophobic, I got to tell you.
Now we have to keep the positive, sir.
Anyway, I want you to look at this, guys. This is my wife and I. We do Meals on Wheels on Tuesday. Meals on Wheels, okay? This is what I'm delivering here. Now, they've eliminated the PM meal. So the folks, we do Tuesdays. These folks that we go to and what Meals on Wheels serves is 5 days a week. And this is what people use them to sustain on it. And they have a little bit of turkey here, and a little bit of, well, you see what it is, a slice of bread. And typically, you know, there's a food shelter next to it. And they have some spare corn on the cob or grapes. We put in that as well. But we need to start honoring our elders. We really do. This is not sustainable. Okay. Like I said, they discontinued the PM. So this is dinner. Now, the people that we serve, everyone that we serve here, to qualify, you can't have an automobile. Because if you have an automobile, you can travel and go wherever and pick up food. So this is the only thing that sustains them. Or they have to order something and then pay that delivery charge. So I know and I've been hitting you pretty hard about spending and keeping that down. But these are our elders. These are your parents and my parents and everybody else's parents. This is what sustains them. So we just put this out in the back of my pickup as I was delivering. I wanted to give you a snapshot of the reality here. What can we do to help our elders in the city of Palm Bay, because they're struggling? They don't have funding on this. Would you want to give this meal to your mom, your dad, your aunt and uncle? They need help. This is it for dinner. And I really like the city to step out on this, because some of the traveling I did, you know, in Japan, I know I'm digressing here, but they really honor their parents and respect their parents. I have veterans answering the door, you know, in a wheelchair, some with who's lost a limb or a leg. I may be putting food on the counter, but I do this for a couple of reasons. We want to get back, and it really humbles me big time. And I hope this humbles you as well. So please look into this and give it due consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Before the next speaker,
now, I was going to say this is something we do look into, Deputy Mayor, specifically with the can't even think the board with the CDBG funding. Meals on Wheels typically applies every year, and they usually get awarded. If not every year, they get awarded most of the time. From this, okay, maybe not this year, but okay, but they have gotten awarded in the past. But that's something I would just encourage them to keep applying, because there's a lot of other nonprofits that have they have, what is it, grandparents helping children and a few others. There's a lot of organizations doing a lot of great good in the city. So I would just encourage them to apply again.
yeah, and right along that same vein, if I may, I know the Department of Veteran Affairs is working on a nutritional program as well, and that's nationwide. And I know West Palm Beach Medical Center down there, they taking that seriously. So you want to discuss that offline? Maybe we could somehow assist partnering those two agencies. All right. Next speaker.
Mr. Humberto Martinez.
What is it?
Hi, Humberto Martinez.
Humberto.
Yes,
Okay.
from 2627 Dennis Avenue, Southeast Palm Bay, 3290. Here, basically to talk about I was here last year about it, and I went to court with them and everything. The outrageous property tax increases that are here. I know of 3 elderly gentlemen that used to live on my neighborhood that were literally forced to sell their home and had to vacate their property. I don't know what happened to them, but basically they had to leave. I went to a hearing about it with them, and basically I was told they says, well, these houses over here sold for this price. They're similar to yours. That's what you're going to pay. Thank you. Have a nice day. Out the door I was. So, I mean, it's a thing through Brevard County. So Palm Bay just couldn't do it itself. Is there a way to get with the other city councils all the way from good old Palm Bay, ending in Titusville, and let's come up with some sort of legislation to take Lisa Cullen and their tyrannical taxing system and get rid of them? Just basically tax us on something more concrete instead of arbitrarial, where they say, well, I feel that this house costs that, instead of going by a square footage of a house, what's ever under air, and come up with a dollar amount. I think you'd save billions of dollars. You'd eliminate that staff. If they need an appraisal on a house, once a year, a bank appraiser guy they could hire, which would be a lot cheaper than, everything that's being paid out and stuff. Basically, I guess you guys, this city council, you would all have to get together and have the people do a vote on it. Do you want to keep these people here? Do you want to continue with this system, or just get rid of them? And then all that money that would be spent on them for all they're doing to me, as far as I'm concerned, is taxing the living crap out of you. I mean, I fled New York because of this, because of the high taxes and stuff. And then I come here only to get ramrodded again. And when I went to complain about it, I was basically told, you, sir, have a nice day. This is what we're going to do. And that was it. It was, basically to me, it was like a mock hearing, like, okay, yeah, we listened to you. Shoo, 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 fly. So is there a way that you guys, or maybe have the people, and literally just have a vote about it to get rid of them?
To get rid of what, sir?
The county, the county clerk, the people, Lisa Cullen, the county clerk, tax thing. There's got to be a more simple way to tax it, or a fairer way.
So the taxes are set by different municipal organizations and the county. The tax collector does their job by collecting the tax. You pay that tax, and then the property appraiser is the one that appraises. Your property is appraised, right? This is the way it works. And then you have exemptions. If you are a homeowner here and you are a full-time, if that's your primary residence, there's a exemptions. There's even, by the state, that is allowed. There's even Save Our Homes also that goes on a year-to-year basis, so that you don't raise that tax. So
Well,
I'm not sure.
I mean, my tax when I first bought my house, it was $1,200 a year. Now I pay $4,500. That's quite a jump.
Okay, well, I can't see your tax. Do you have your tax issues there?
I don't have it on me now. I just found out about this meeting at the last second, and I says, "Good God, I got to come here."
So this meeting that you probably were you talking about what's been out in the community saying that there's going to be a tax increase? Is that why you came? Is that
No. I just came because my issue from last year was never addressed. I think there's got to be a way. Is there a way, like, for the people to have a vote to try to come up with a fairer tax system? I mean, because to me, I don't exactly know how someone appraises it. I think it should be done, whatever it is, a dollar amount under square foot of your house, under air, and that should be it. Because I mean,
You
what's
remember
going
this?
on now?
No, I remember you from last year, sir.
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
I know exactly
I
what you
mean,
mean.
what's going on now?
Just a second, sir.
Yes.
It's something we have the Space Coast League of Cities. It's a monthly meeting we have every month, but it's usually regarding like state issues, kind of like what we were talking about, property insurances, things of that nature.
Yeah.
But what you're basically saying, and I understand what you mean, is too many chiefs, not enough Indians. There's so like while we as the state of Florida pride ourselves on no state tax, everybody else is getting their cut some way or another. So you're trying to find a way of how to cut out some of that and just have it on the municipalities.
I'm just saying there's got to be a way to come up with a better way to tax people.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, because to me, it's like, how exactly do they come up with it? Oh, that house is red, so this is going to cost this much.
we got to keep the meeting going, sir.
Yes,
but
sir.
before you leave, we'll get your contact. But I'll bring it up in next Space Coast League of Cities meeting, sir.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up.
I'm not even clear on understanding where he's going. Totally transparent.
Yes, sir.
I'm not understanding where he's going. I've been part of, how this conversation goes. And I, there's a process by the county, right? That he can actually file if he's assessed too much, right? So how did that work out for you?
Did not work out at all.
Okay.
Basically, like I explained.
Okay. But you went, it's called the Board of Adjustments.
Oh yeah.
Did you go?
I went through the whole.
Okay. So I'm not understanding how.
Actually,
Yeah, that's what it is.
yes, and I was told, this one guy, real smug.
You want to get back on the mic for a second? I got to keep this meeting going, sir.
No, I don't
So
want. I don't want to hold you up with
what
this.
what you're saying is you're saying a lot. You're giving us a lot of information, but I don't see anything in writing, right? So what I like, what I like to see, right? If you can, maybe we could get with our staff and maybe direct you in a better manner, because the Board of Adjustments usually they'll meet and you went through that process.
Yes.
So they didn't find in your favor is what I'm hearing.
No, but
And so
basically,
the
I was
reason
told-
they didn't find in your favor is what?
Oh, they said, well, they showed me 4 to 5 houses that were similar to mine.
Okay.
And they basically
Okay.
said, well, these houses were recently sold for this. Henceforth, you're going to be taxed on the basis of that. And that was it. It was like, finished.
So you didn't have any exemptions or save
I mean,
our home?
I have the homestead and stuff, but like I said, it doesn't really help. And me, I'm on disability. I'm on a fixed income. So it's not like when I lived in New York where I could work and do overtime and compensate for this. Now I got to pray I get a decent tax return.
Okay, so what I'd like for you to do, Humberto, what I'd like for you to do is bring in those documents.
Okay.
Right? And I'd like for our staff to look at a possible way moving forward. What options does he have at this point?
I can certainly have our finance director, Larry Wojciechowski,
Larry?
connect with this gentleman. I did look up his property
remember
account
you.
real quick. I think we talked about this last year. So I think part of the issue was the timing of when he bought his house and the appraised value that was that first tax bill. Because just looking at the history, the value of the property was updated after the sale, and that came into play for your second tax bill, which is where you saw that increase when you bought the property in 2021.
You're talking a hell of an increase.
So
that was
before the exemption?
This is all, and this is all after the exemptions. So he's got the disability. One and the 2 homestead exemptions are already at play on the property, but it looks like it was the timing of the valuation of the property, which really doesn't have anything directly to do with the city's role. We do set taxes just like the
No,
county
I'm not
does.
blaming you
So
guys.
that's the property appraisal.
So it's about the value of the property, it appears, but I
Well,
can certainly have
Humberto,
Larry
thank you. You
talk
go-
to him a little bit.
Yeah, can we just talk to Larry? Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Mayor, this conclude public comment.
Public comments? Okay, we're now on consent. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda item with the exception of the following. 2,
I have an item too.
Okay, well, we'll get
Okay.
to that.
3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Well, 8 plus
8
1.
plus 1. Okay.
plus number one.
Number one. So 1, 2, 3,
Uh-huh.
4, 5, 6, and
And
8.
8.
Second.
I got a motion.
6, 7, and 8.
5, 6, 7,
Triple
and
7
8.
as well.
No, I'm just one. Number one.
One. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
I got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Did you want to share anything? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, we're now on public hearings. Did you need to say anything, Mr. Attorney?
Nothing on consent.
Say again?
We have nothing on consent.
Okay. Thank you. We're now on public hearings number 1. Mr. Edwards.
An ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, ordinance 2024-28, an ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2024 budget by appropriating and allocating funds as identified in Exhibit A, consisting of 5 pages and incorporated in its entirety herein. Recognizing that such appropriations must be made pursuant to the Code of Ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, Chapter 35, adopting, ratifying, confirming, and validating the allocations, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Edwards. I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask Ms. Sherman to present the case or present her request.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the third budget amendment and the final reading, so I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions? Seeing none, anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this item? Item number 1, public hearing. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. We're now on item number 2, Mr. Edwards.
Ordinance 2024-29, an ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, vacating and abandoning a portion of the rear 10-foot public utility and drainage easement located within Lot 26, Block 1709, Port Malabar, Unit 36, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 19, page 87 of the Public Records of Brevard County, Florida, and legally described herein, providing for an effective date.
I'm going to open up the public hearing and Ms. Stefani.
Hi there, I'm Stephanie Tennyson, 1275 Scottish Street Southwest. I am just requesting to vacate a portion of the rear easement.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, any questions? Thank you for your patience.
I will see you again soon. I got to do the variance next.
Copy that, ma'am. Madam Sherman, anything you want to weigh in?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, I'm closing the public hearing and asking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
Thank you so
Yes,
much,
ma'am.
all of you. I
Yes,
very
ma'am.
much appreciate it.
Thank you. Item number 3, Mr. Edwards.
Ordinance 2024-30, an ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, vacating and abandoning a portion of the rear 20-foot public utility and drainage easement located within Lot 21, Block 310, Port Malabar, Unit Number 10, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 15, page 16 of the Public Records of Brevard County, Florida, and legally described herein, providing for an effective date.
I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask the applicant to present their case.
Good evening. I'm Jose Taveras.
Speak in the mic, sir.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, apply for a vacant easement to build a shed of 12 12 by 20 feet.
Okay. And you applied for that vacating for? What's the reason?
To build a shed.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't get that part.
Okay.
Any additional questions, council? Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this item? When you scratch your head, Master Chief, okay. I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. You too.
We are now on item number 7. Mr. Attorney, Mr. Edwards.
Resolution 2024-25, granting of a revocable license to allow for the installation and maintenance of a drainage pipe with clean out T within a public drainage right of way.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask the applicant to present their case.
I own.
Please speak in the mic, sir.
All right. So I have 3 standard lots. There's a ditch that the city owns the property that separates.
Can you raise that up or, yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
so there's a ditch that separates the one
Yes.
of the lots from my other 2. The downstream pipe is higher than the upstream pipe, which causes water to sit in that ditch, and I maintain it, I mow it, and that sort of thing. And I'd like to put a pipe in so that I can cover it over, and in order to access my property at the moment, I have to walk all the way out to the street and back up. And I'd like to cover it over so that I can just go from one gate exit to another gate.
Yeah, I found this interesting. You're going to pipe it and you're going to cover it up. That's huge.
I'm a rare fruit tree collector, and so I have filled the lot full of rare fruit trees, and I spend a lot of time out there. It's very important to me.
That explains it. I was looking at the map and saw that I saw plants of some sort there. So those are fruit trees?
Yep.
All right.
Very
Copy
rare
that.
ones.
Copy that. Thank you. Thank you. Any additional questions?
You got mango trees?
35 of them.
35 mango trees? Yeah, we love mangoes. There's a lot of mango lovers out there. He's got fruit trees. Mango and what other trees?
There's a list as long
There's a
as
list?
here all night. Yep.
Yeah, copy that. That's awesome, sir. That's awesome. Any other questions? No. Do you have any questions? No. Is there anyone in this audience that step right up, sir? Go ahead and sit down in case we need you to come back up. All right, sir.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I've got 4 questions on this one. The first one is, what's going to be the percentage of decrease in capacity of the pipe? Because we're going from a 4-foot open swell to a 24-inch pipe. What's going to be the reduction in the amount of flow that we get going through that ditch to the outflow? Question number 2, what is the rationale for the pipe? And he explained the rationale so he could get from one piece of property to the other piece of property without going through the swell. I understand that. Right. Question number 3, are the affected neighbors in favor of this, or do they even know that their neighbor is planning on filling the swell in between them and their house? Because he owns property on one side, there's another resident on the south side, and then he owns the south side to other piece of property along this swell. So I didn't know how it was going to impact on them. It might be they don't want it, they do want it. Well, and I'm only questioning this. I understand wholeheartedly what he's trying to do. If it was mine, I would do the same. But I'm just questioning because that means, will that give him the right to build fences across it? Will it give rights to block in? There's a whole bunch of things they're saying because he's modified the ability there, right? And then, or does that easement still remain open as drainage swell, right? And the last question, is this going to become the norm where everyone fills in their swells just because it's a convenience? So we have 4-foot swells that allow a certain amount of capacity. If everybody fills it in with a pipe, we've reduced that swell and we're already in that outfall and we already have a drainage problem. I'm just questioning the process. Is it going to get out of control? Is it going to generate more people saying, I want to just fill in my swell because it's a convenience for me? I understand there'll be a pipe there, but that's not the same thing as a 4-foot swell that you can get the water 8 feet deep in. Right? I also understand why he wants to get from point A to point B without having to go around. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would imagine, Master Chief, I would think this is costly. I'll ask that question, but Madam Sherman, do you have any of those technical questions?
I can
we
speak
could-
to a couple. So it actually, this is not a swale, but it's a lot line ditch. So it's one that goes between all the single family homes and connects like between 2 roads on either side. So it's a different type of ditch canal structure. Our engineers review the size of the pipe to make sure that the capacity of the pipe is appropriate for the surrounding drainage system. So they look at that before that gets approved. No, for something like this, because it's still our drainage right of way, we would not permit or allow fences to be installed on top of it. There's maintenance concerns with that, so we'd have to be able to get to the pipe at some point in the future if we needed to, even though there is a clean out portion of this. So I think those are the answers I can give. I do not know the answer to the question of whether the one neighbor has concerns or not.
Okay. Do you have an answer regarding your neighbors, sir? Or anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, they're absolutely aware that I'm in the process of this. I love my neighbors. They're always giving fruit whenever I have access. So they have no problems with it. They have more of a problem with the ditch holding water all the time. And the mosquitoes that come along with it. Like I said, I maintain that ditch, and the pipe size that they're having me install is greater than the upstream pipe in diameter.
It appears to me, from my perspective, it's a costly investment.
I'm aware. I'm born and raised here. I planted a lot of seeds in that yard that I don't intend to ever leave, and so it's worth it.
And so your neighbors are aware of this, and you've actually given them mangoes. Did I understand this correctly?
They prefer the bananas over the mangoes.
Oh man, bananas too?
Yeah. So I would like to just say a thing about not being allowed to put my fence across that ditch, which bothers me a bit, but totally understand that why the city would not want to vacate that easement. But as I would believe that there has to be some way to put a rolling gate so that the city could access that property whenever needed. I really am just trying to prevent theft from my yard. I already have people prior to putting one fence along the road helping themselves, as you would know, so or believe. So
Understood. Madam Sherman?
That's something I have to talk to staff about. I don't know that we've explored that. If anyone's talked to him about that before tonight. Yeah, that's not something I'm prepared to speak to.
Okay, so we can't grant that.
Well,
right here.
Okay, yeah, right here. Yeah.
Right here. We can't grant that
Understand.
right here. All right, sir? All right. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? Yes, sir. No, I just
Yeah.
That was
Yes, sir.
done it before.
And reading the resolution here and understanding his predicament, I just wanted to know why his address is not listed here. I'd like to become his neighbor.
Okay. Copy that, sir. All right. I'm gonna close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. You aye?
No, it's a gentleman one. Yes, I am. But
Okay. All right, sir.
public
Ma-
comment was closed.
I would like if we could just if staff could look into that for him because
Yeah, right before he leaves, go ahead and thank you, Councilman Johnson. So we're now on items from consent. We're on item number 1. Councilman Johnson.
yes, Mayor, thank you. And Mr. Barber might be able to talk to it a little bit. It's regarding Timothy Rose, contracting, and I'm tying it into procurement as well. And I've talked on this a few times, and I'm going back and forth between change orders. But when you go forward to the procurement item, at the very bottom, it talks about, we're talking about a 40% increase in total for the change orders of approximately almost a little more than 2 million.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm bouncing back and forth. I'm just
For this particular item, sorry.
so all right, let me start over. I apologize.
Yeah.
All right, so right now we're looking to award the lowest bidder.
Correct.
All right, Timothy Rose.
Yes, sir.
But I'm also fast forwarding. We're also looking at a change order number 5 for Timothy Rose, which when you add up all 5 change orders, that's over $2 million.
Yes, sir.
If you add that up to the lowest bidder, which they are, that makes them the highest bidder. So my question, I know I'm like, oh man, roll up the sleeves. Is there anything we can do legislative wise to change it where we don't have to award it to the lowest bidder, or a way to kind of, I know we can't really manage the change orders, but I'm looking at some of the change orders, and to me, FP&L should be responsible for some of them, in my opinion. But you know, you're the subject expert. I'm just trying to look at how we can be a little more efficient, because time after time I'm seeing low bidders get it, and then we have change order to the point where they're not the lowest bidder anymore. They actually end up being the highest bidder. Now the highest bidder, that same thing can happen too. I understand that, but I'm just seeing a trend. So help me out, brother.
I
Help
understand.
me.
So I guess from a procurement perspective, what we like to do is we like to assess them independently.
Okay.
So with respect to assessing change orders, we couldn't do that for this consent agenda item number 1.
Yeah.
But like we spoke about before, my job is to see if there are any patterns for change orders for each project, which we're actively looking at, and we haven't seen any. So every change order, as you know, is approved by staff. We review it with respect to whatever it may be presented with. And for this particular item, we don't really have anything to stand on, if you will. So I wish that we could say something different, but the change orders are that. And for, I can't remember which item is for the change order number 5. That's a new business.
Yeah.
Right. So we really couldn't do anything with that one as far as trying to not award the low bidder for consent agenda item number 1.
Okay.
Sorry.
And I know they're 2 separate items, but same company. So that's the only reason why I wanted to ask the question now before we approve it and then move on to that.
It's very valid. And like we spoke about previously, we're looking into it.
Okay.
I have not been able to ascertain any patterns for why those change orders are being presented to us.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm good, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank
brother.
you.
Yes, sir.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We're now on item number 2.
Mr. Batten.
Master Chief.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I have 2 questions on this one. The first one, will there be a fire emergency traffic light making for easy exit coming out on Palm Bay Road with this one? I didn't see it when I was looking through the preliminaries. And question number 2, will and this kind of coincides in exactly with the change orders that we're just talking about. Will the contract have a clause not to exceed the 8,072,000, because you already included a 10% overrun clause in your contract when you made it? So they're looking at the maximum already. Now they're saying when we reach that, oh, well, I'm just going to say I need more. It's, as a person just said it to me, are they working the system where they always can keep overrun, and they have to keep doing it because we committed? Instead of maybe making our contracts like old Donald Trump would say, if you fail to meet your contract, you pay me instead of me paying you more money. Okay? They said we can do that. So let's don't have their contract exceed the $8 million and then proceed with the fire station. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Sherman.
Thank you, sir. Yes, there will be an emergency traffic light installed on that existing mast arm that's out there.
Yes. Yeah.
Certainly, it's normal for us to include a 10% contingency on the budgets for these projects, but if you'd like to ask our chief procurement officer any other questions on it, certainly we can bring him up.
Stayed up front.
Thank you. So did you get the question?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I just
Or
stepped
did you
up
have
because I
more?
thought
Yeah,
you
well, no.
answered the question.
So what he was asking is there any way in the contract to ensure that they don't
Doesn't
yeah,
go over 8.072.
aside from the 10% contingency?
Sorry. So yeah, we don't have any clauses that would have it to exceed it. It's just the expectation that the contractor is going to perform the work as solicited, well within the price that they submitted for their proposal. So we don't have anything contractually that would say that they would have to not exceed it.
Is
Just 10%.
so then that might be a city attorney question. Is there anything stopping us from having language like that, or the state? Or
No, we're fine. I mean, you can contract when you're making your deal or whatever you're negotiating with them. You can put that into it.
so we can put it in there.
So from procurement perspective,
Yeah.
it's I would say it's uncommon because you want to be as competitive as you can be.
Okay.
I've
Right.
seen it where you can put a cap as far as you won't exceed a budget amount, but trying to remain competitive, negotiate, they would have to just adhere to the price that they submitted.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers it for you.
Sorry, you got the wheels turning now.
No, well, so what he's,
Go ahead.
The way I'm tracking it is you want companies to be competitive in that process, and you don't want to tie their hands in that as well. So companies are going to build their reputation on if they could stay on cost or not. So if I'm hearing you correctly, that's part of the competition. That's part of the competitive edge. Did I hear you correctly,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Barber?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I'm torn, Mayor, because I'm thinking back. You remember Flawless, that company, and then somebody just outbidded them by like $1,000. They undercut them pretty much.
I
And
remember that with our fireworks.
Yeah, Flawless. That's correct.
Yeah,
yeah, but
I think that's a
you know what I'm talking about? And they undercut them, and
Right.
Mike Krams, his mom came up like, "Hey, like we're doing it." Somebody undercut him by 1,000, and so it's a lot. It's a lot. I see it can be improved. Maybe that's something just you and the city attorney's office. I don't want to do a bait and switch right now. We're already here, but it is something of concern. Maybe that's something the city attorney's office and procurement can look into for future contracts, or just
If I understand correctly, you would like us to look into the viability of putting some kind of clause in our contracts that it wouldn't exceed a certain amount.
yeah, or we go ahead.
Yeah, but see what he's talking about. Then at the last minute, someone will undercut him, undercut the lowest bid for whatever reason on that. So maybe what I suggest, Councilman Johnson, is perhaps have offline discussions on what you like to see with the city attorney. That's something that we could work on, and then you bring it back to the rest of council. I think that would be a good resolve for that. That way you guys get on the same page on what you'd like to see. Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
Do you play baseball?
And
No, you're a football.
I play at Andretti.
Oh. All right. Just I didn't know that. That's new for me.
I'm just
That's
playing.
new.
Football is all I got. That's all.
All right. So I need a motion.
So
Go ahead.
I think gentlemen want to say
Well,
a public
well,
comment.
no, this is a consent item. We
Okay.
can't. Yeah.
All right. So moved.
I got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. Did you?
Yeah.
Did I hear you right? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. We're now on item number 3, Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Batten?
These consent items are pulled.
That's right.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I have 2 questions on this one. The first one, what are we getting for $500,000? I read what they're trying to do, what their overall coverage was, but I didn't see a breakdown on what we were actually buying for that $500,000. Right? Number 2, I find it strange that zip code 32907 had an extra $500,000 to make this purchase with, yet you used $2 million of the 32908's fund to build a bridge in the same area. So I'm going back to where the nexus of one area was using the funds from another one So if they had this money already available, why did you take the money out of 32908 and put it in 32907? So that's where I'm questioning it. So that's question number two. The other one is, what are we getting for that $500,000? Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Sherman?
First of all, this project is funded using general fund. That is not an impact fee funded item because it's a playground replacement. So it's just general fund that's paying for it. Regarding the actual scope of the playground, I would have to actually ask our Assistant Parks and Facilities Director, Steve Whidden, to provide more details. I can only tell you what it says in the memo. It's a fully accessible ADA playground, but if you'd like to have him come up and give you more details, we could do that. Steve?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't know that I can verbally go through every detail on the drawing, but we would be happy to share what was submitted as part of the evaluation of award. This is not an ADA accessible playground. I just want to be very clear. This is 100% ADA accessible playground. So it doesn't just have features and fixtures in it to make it ADA accessible. All components of the playground are ADA. As far as it's a replacement, which replaces what's there with more features that would be accessible for children. The playground has reached the end of its useful life. It has repairs to it that are we are unable to find correct parts. But I would be happy to share what was submitted, and because we did ask for drawings and cut sheets off of the playground that was submitted. This was a competitive award, not a low bid award. It was sent through an evaluation, so the intent there was to get the best contractor, the best award, and the best product that met our specifications.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I need a motion.
So move. Second.
Got him. Do you have another poll for that?
Oh, Mr. Miles, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Alan Miles, 350 Garvey Road, Southwest, Palm Bay, 32909. I live near a neighborhood park that had an older playground that was to be replaced, similar to what this gentleman just stated. A backhoe demolished it in a few hours. One day it was fine. The next day it was a piece of scrap or a pile of scrap. Can we see if any of the playground is still usable and donated to a church or a school instead of putting it in a scrap heap? Is this the fate of what the playground is? I realize now he says it's in somewhat disrepair. I know the playground that was near me was not in that bad a shape, and with a little bit of work and maybe some welding. $100,000 playground probably is worth something to somebody somewhere, and maybe we could look into that, or maybe that gentleman could tell us if there's anything that is salvageable, even if it's just a slide for a daycare or a swing set for a daycare. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on. Yes, come on.
I would have to look into the details, but some general information on playgrounds and reusing of the equipment. The Consumer Product Safety Commission, Consumer Product Safety Commission. There's several standards that govern playgrounds, and they change rapidly over the years. The main concerns being strangulation have come up lately, has been a big improvement. And the point I'm trying to get to is, although it may appear to be in disrepair, I don't know that another property owner would take it over without some sort of level of liability for installing something that had been outdated. When codes change, there are grandfather clauses, and sometimes there are corrections to avoid new problems that occur or studied by Consumer Product Safety Commission, as an example. So we'd have to look on that as a case by case basis, but there may be components of a playground, but I would doubtfully say that an entire playground or play equipment set would be completely salvageable. So,
Understood. So if
yeah,
I'm understanding you correctly, we could be liable if we pass that on, whether even the parts, a salvageable part may.
yeah, we can pass on parts to playground equipment graveyards. They have graveyards for some manufacturers. but to present it to an owner as acceptable to install and use may be difficult.
Understood.
Did I answer the question, or at least
Yes,
provide
sir.
some information?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you coming up.
You're very welcome.
I need a motion.
So,
Or is
oh,
it?
no, I think we're good.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We're now on item number 4. Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Batten?
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. I'm looking at the cost of this, $3 million. $3 million for a consulting group for a road for St. John's Heritage Parkway widening. And why I'm concerned about this is because coming up later in the agenda, we've got a massive 40% overrun because of planning for consulting groups. And so if we have overrun, well, like I just said previously, it's like people are playing the system, knowing, well, you're the city, you all have taxes money, it's not your money, what do you care? Keep paying it. So the $3.2 million just for consulting plan that might change 15 times between now and then. That's why I'm a little bit worried about it. But the other thing that coincides with this one is we're worrying about this widening of the St. John's Heritage Parkway even before we've completed, after spending millions and millions and millions, we're up to 4 million, by the way, on Malabar Road without anything being accomplished on it. So we're spending money in planning, but we're not seeing any forward motion in accomplishment of the infrastructure itself. A whole bunch of consulting firms are getting rich, but we're not getting anything. That's my personal opinion, and that's what I see. So I don't want to see it just being, well, we're going to have to get another consultant firm to come in and tell us that your previous consulting firm made a mistake. All right, that's what I don't want to see. Let's get Malabar done, and then we'll see where we're heading, because I think it's the same consulting group, wasn't it? I think.
Thank you. Madam Sherman.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we would love to see engineering costs be a lot cheaper too, believe me. So $3.2 million, that was the low, essentially the bid on that one. You want to speak to that, George? You look like you do.
So just for that one, that's a request for qualification. So we actually don't have an identified amount for that, which I think what we're referencing may be the budget amount, but we have to negotiate what the consultant cost will be for the project. So we don't have an identified cost as of now. So we have to go into negotiations for it. So it could be lower than 3 million. We actually don't know at this point. So just want to say that.
So, ma'am, that design, those studies are needed.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, the first step to get to a construction project is you first have to have a design, and it's just very expensive.
Thank you, ma'am. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Number 5, Deputy Mayor.
Miss Micaiah. Eddie
Micaiah.
Eddie, I'm sorry.
Hi, how you guys doing? Well, that was to speak about the youth programs. I don't know if that came up yet or not, but that's where I was at.
That's what this is.
Okay, awesome. It's about the one on by Florida Ave, correct?
Center. Yes.
So I got a question for you. Is that's a property that you guys recently purchased, donated? What?
Purchase.
Can the city turn properties like that for profits to have projects in other places in the city? Is that possible?
Is that the spectrum of your questions, or do you have
Yeah,
additional?
that's part of my question. Is that property, can the property sell? I mean, can the city sell that property to have funds for a program somewhere else in the city?
Yeah, I think part of the deal, and Madam Sherman, you'll break down the deal. But part of the deal was we had an opportunity to get this center and it would appraise even at higher. But what are the restrictions, ma'am? Would you?
Well, there's a couple things. So this is a property that was previously owned by the city that the city has purchased back. It was some nonprofits held it, and we were able to. We haven't quite closed, but we're almost at closing within a week or two, I think. So the 5th, August 5th, we will close. So then we will own the property again. When we sold it originally, it was just a vacant piece of land, so it got developed. Right now, at council's direction, we're not planning to sell that property or to call it a surplus property, which sometimes we do have surplus properties we sell, and then those funds get currently deposited into the road maintenance fund. But in this case, what this item is about is council has directed us to request information from groups, nonprofits, groups that might want to have youth programs to
Right.
work out of that particular facility, and we'll bring that back to city council for their consideration.
That's why I was asking the question, because I think that the problem is that we don't have anything in Southeast Palm Bay. So in my neck of the woods, there really isn't much for kids, like Bayside Lakes, the whole Southeast. There's really nowhere for anyone to go. So if you look at everything that you have is in the north end of Palm Bay. So if, budgeting and things are problems and you need funds to do programs, well, you can sell a property to have funds for a program in a different section of the city where you really need something for the kids. I mean, I don't know if that's possible or not, but if not, then maybe it might be a good place for a new boxing place. Well, I mean, you know how the rec center is, so maybe you can move them there. That's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, I think he threw in the boxing because he knows, I think he purposefully did that. But, council, it's worth a discussion, right? We've spoken about disciplining our youth, and the need is there for the youth, right? So, council is worth a discussion. I think that's part of the request of information to see what programs we could put in there. That's what this is about. So I think that, you know, in our previous discussions, it's about trying to do something for certain at-risk youth to give them an opportunity. And I think you went more towards the vocation industry of meals and chefs and maybe it could be self-sustaining, I heard. But certainly we don't know what programs are going to want to partner. But hey, I like boxing. It goes good with food too. But it's whatever it's whatever comes this, you know, whatever they say. So
Mayor, if I can put a little perspective on that to answer more, address, Eddie. So ideally, this facility was there to serve that particular community, that neighborhood, and if you know the story of Mr. Evans, there's a long history of that particular neighborhood. So there, it's a replacement of years of history. A gentleman that was his neighborhood. He wanted to make that place better, a better place for kids
through education.
And what have you, after school program. And it was originally a supermarket. So when the city got involved and other entity got involved, money was put towards that project. Project was built. Unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable. So it was a supermarket, number one. Number two, there's some educational component to it, and so on and so forth. The city has interest in it. We have a big chunk of interest in it. So as we discussed to buy it back, and the agreement was with the community, what they wanted to see, what they want to see. We throw some ideas. I was part of that, representing council, having that conversation. So the agreement was with the folks over in that community, wanting to be respectful of the whole process or the idea what behind that building. We wanted to keep it in the community to continue serving the community, some sort of service to that community. That's why when it comes to for-profit entities, That was completely out of the question. This building must remain historical or some sort of service to that community. That's why as we taking it over, we're looking for entity that can provide some sort of service. We create a scope, and that's what we voted last week. We create a scope of services that we want to see take place by any means. If you have some ideas, if you are a non-for-profit that want to bring some sort of service that fit the scope that's already established by staff, you're more than welcome to come back with
PAL's pretty much free for the community.
PALs.
Yeah, PAL.
I mean, there's some component to PALs. I know there's a PAL already exists in that area, that community, that already servicing that.
Is
area.
that still Palm Bay, or is that
I
practically
think it's Melbourne, but they're still serving
Palm
Palm
Bay?
Bay. They are serving both communities.
So the location's in Palm Bay,
right?
But the PAL is Melbourne.
Well, we could have a Palm Bay PAL.
That's a conversation that we can have down the road.
We used
but
to have one, as far as I
So-
remember. The rec center used to be a PAL. You had to sign in. It no longer is, but it was once upon a time.
Well, I think we're getting the cart before the horse. This right here, and I'm gonna have to call for a vote. And this is already
Gotcha.
closed. But this this
come
is
up with
about
something.
what
what
the request for information is.
Gotcha.
That's what the item is.
I got it.
All right.
I got it. Okay, thank you.
Staff can get you the scope, and certainly you can look at it and see if you can come up with something. Yes, correct.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
I got a second by Deputy Mayor Felix. And I know you worked hard on this.
Yeah, so that's good. I just wanted to bring it together.
Copy that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Item number 6.
Judy, Miss Judy.
Judy Trandle, 751 Pebble Beach Avenue, Northeast. I'm usually a person that does research on stuff. On this number 6, where you're going to give away 6 lots and $370,000 to Macedonia Community Development, I did my research. Last year, you gave them $435,746 for a triplex at 2264 Washington Street, Northeast Palm Bay. To date, a year later, almost a year later, let's put it that way, a couple months shy, they just in June applied for permits to renovate the triplex through the Palm Bay City Community Development. Starting on 6/19, they were disapproved. 6/20 denied. 6/21 denied. 7/2 disapproved. The building review approved on 7/8, and the land development review disapproved on 8/1. All of the work, plumbing, pre-pour framing, nailing, rough-in, mechanical, everything is unscheduled. So here we've given $435,000 to a project that it says here, assessed value for $97,170. I didn't stop there. I went in to look at their 990 form. 2023 is not available yet, but 2022 was available. I also looked at Brevard County land, the property search. This organization owns 31 improved residential properties plus 8 vacant lots in Brevard County. And they want 6 more of ours. why haven't they done something with the 8 vacant lots before? Then I looked at their income tax return. And last year, current year, they received $829,000. Program service revenue of 186,000. Total revenue $1,014,733.
Thank you,
That
ma'am.
mean?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, they're not performing to get more money from us.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Sherman?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to see if our Assistant Housing Director, Evie Sperardi, can come up and speak to the selection process we use for these funds for these properties.
Thank you, ma'am.
Could someone also speak to the denials as well that she mentioned?
The permitting stuff?
Yeah, the permitting.
Do you have that pulled up? Yeah.
So every year we present an RFP, a request for proposal, out to the community, to agencies for funding with home funds. Based on what the need is in the community and based on the affordable housing that is needed, we put together our request for proposals and send it out. We received 2 bids this year, or 2 proposals this year. One of the proposals that we received was withdrawn. That agency just felt like their proposal wasn't top notch and they really wanted to come back later in the future with something better. So that left Macedonia. Macedonia is putting up a little over $100,000 towards this project from their own wallet. And they're also working on that other project from last year. So what they're asking for is the 6 donated lots to rehabilitate the 2 current units or structures that are on 2 of the lots. So the money is really going to rehabilitate, or what they're requesting is that the money go toward those 2 structures to be rehabilitated. In last year's proposal, the 400 and plus thousand, it was to acquire the property, the triplex, and then to rehabilitate it up to code. So that's what happened last year. That's what I can speak to. That is our current process. We do have an encumbrance deadline with the county with home funds. So we have to have an agreement, a signed agreement with an organization to do something with those funds. If not, we will be in non-compliance. So that is the encumbrance deadline that we have.
So those funds have to be allocated or spent by that certain time frame?
They have to be by September 30th of this year. We have to be in an agreement with an organization to do something with those home funds. That's the encumbrance deadline.
And when is those funds allocated?
They're allocated normally to the municipalities October 1st, but depending on how quickly we can get into an agreement with the county. So we didn't get our agreement until later on in the year. I think it was January, February that we came to council with the agreement.
So when does the funds get to the rehab folks, the people that are rehabbing?
When we put out the RFP in the spring, and then they bring the proposal and we bring it to council now in July or August 1st, which is today.
Okay. Does that answer most of your questions, ma'am?
No, it doesn't. They bought the property for $122,000.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Ma'am, can you sit with
Miss
what was
Judy?
her name? Miss Judy? And
I have a question regarding.
Okay.
to
Can
this.
you sit after the question? Carry on.
One of the question that I have, or concern, I should say, with this particular application, and ma'am, thank you for doing your homework. I do appreciate that. To some degree, I agree. I'm in agreement with you to some of your comments, most of them actually, when it comes to this particular project. The previous and speaking to the one tonight, I believe one of the commitment for Macedonia for this project would be there's a 15 years commitment to affordable housing Is that correct?
Are you referring to the
This-
restriction, the land use restriction agreement?
Or in terms of for once a project is completed, there's a 15 years
affordability
commitment,
period?
affordable. Yeah, I take issues with that.
That's set by the grant, the home grant.
Oh, is the
and
grant
it's
itself?
on a scale. It's on a scale. It's
that-
dependent on how much money of how much home funds you put into a project.
Right.
There's a scale, 5-year, 10-year, 15. But
So-
it doesn't state that you can't add more to it.
Well, that's exactly where I'm coming from. I mean, to me, if that's your business, that's what you're in, you only put so much into it. It's all public funding. To me, it should be for forever. It should be dedicated to affordable housing. If that's the business you're in, this is tax dollars at work. This is city-owned property, and why are we capping it? I get the home, yeah, but why is the organization capping it at 15? So they not looking to extend it. They can. So that's why I'm here. That's why that's where I take issue with this particular item, and I can't support it. I've shared my views on the previous item. I just don't feel like all tax dollars, this funding is being utilized properly. The efficiency, spending that kind of money into a triplex, that should be, to me, it should be flattened. Go, build a new structure on that. I mean, I think that's better use of that funding. So this is not. I can't support this on the basis. I voiced my opinion prior to a prior project, and I'm still taking serious issue with this as well.
So what do we have?
And I wish
This-
the applicant was here. I know they were here when they left.
Yeah, they were sitting back there.
Yeah.
So Madam Chairman, I think you could.
Yes,
weigh in
sir.
on
If I could,
a little bit.
if I could ask Joan to share a little bit more, there's a little another piece of this I just want kind of put on
Okay.
the record for you all.
Okay.
Do you want me to address the building permit first and then that, or just go straight to the, okay. So I'll I guess, address the more recent concern on the affordability period. So we actually had a conversation with Jerry Phillips from Macedonia CDC about the affordability period. Now we do have the LoRa, which is going to be part of the agreement, and that is the requirement for the home funds of 15 years. But part of our conversation with Mr. Phillips was to establish a deed restriction on the property that allows it to be affordable in perpetuity, with a reversionary clause that if it were to not be used for that purpose, the ownership would revert back to the city. He was agreeable to that.
So that's exactly your right.
Well,
The-
that I
the
can live with.
perpetuity
Yeah,
part of it,
that I
yeah.
can live with. But again, it's always raise a red flag. What's the intent? 15 years, then turn around and sell it for a profit. Not saying that's what they intend to do, but when we're talking about affordable housing, I can tell you 10 years from now, housing won't be more affordable. So can only go worse. So if our intent and our effort is to create more affordable units, we can't have organization utilize all funding to cap housing. So that's where I stand. I just, if people in that space, if you're listening, we need viable project. And like I said, unfortunately, we are where we are. We don't have enough organization or companies that getting into that space, bringing us good project. I know what I'm saying. I know what I can do with $500,000 personally. So to me, we're not helping. We're not utilizing our funding properly. And I applaud them for their effort. But man, we need better project, Macedonia. We need better project. I'm not happy with what's coming forward.
So even with the perpetuity,
I'll support it on that note, but I wanting to make sure I'm clear. Future project, bring us decent stuff, things that are sustainable, things that are efficient. I want to see all dollars at work for good reason, and I just want to. I'm supporting you tonight, but I just want to be clear.
Okay, I just wanted to get that because this is something that you're working closely with. This is something that you're passionate about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I kind of have an idea. I have a little bit of experience when it comes to
Right.
that. So to me, some of all the way our fundings are being utilized, they're not being utilized in the most efficient way, I should say. We're not getting good return.
So what else would you like to see, give staff some direction to see what other programs you like to benefit? What
And
specifically?
I know they are meeting what I think within our scope, they are meeting all the check mark. What I'm saying, Mayor, I think for what we're putting out, the return in terms of we should be able to see better product, more unit per dollar.
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
that's
Okay.
the point I'm saying. So like the triplex to me, it's not viable at all. Nearly $500,000 to get what they said they're gonna do. To me, that triplex should be flattened and bring something brand new.
brand new.
Maybe build a not brand new triplex, something that has more viability, more life to it. To me, just not good use of that funding.
So,
but I know that's behind us.
So this is the home investment partnership program, correct? So, and I just want to peel this onion back a little bit more. So should we go down this page if we're not getting those programs that are worth it? Or, and this is a viable question at this point, because if we're not getting the return on investment, I agree the perpetuity is a critical component to that, right? But if this is not the best, then why even go down this page?
Well, I think part of the challenge we have, we have time going against.
Right.
So that money must
is-
be dispersed by October 1st, September.
She
30th.
said
October 1st is
Yeah, October
normally
1st.
when
So
the
that's-
program year
so-
begins, but you really can't do anything until you have that signed agreement.
That's
that
right.
comes
We're
from the
dealing
county.
with time, and when we put the RFP out, we only had 2 applicants, and one of them pull out.
I see.
Yeah, a Community of Hope pull out, and we only end up with 1. So over and over again, to reiterate my point, we need better. I'm just putting it out there. We need better product, or better, proposal.
I guess the question at this point would be, we had 2 applicants and 1 pulled out. Do we know why that 1 pulled out?
They just felt that their proposal wasn't what they wanted it to be.
What they wanted it to be, or what we
No,
would
what
like?
they wanted to put more into it and they couldn't at that time.
Okay.
Because it was a very short period of time. Normally our RFPs are out for 30 days and they really didn't have the adequate amount of time. You're talking about 6 slots and they were thinking, okay, we really want to design the 6 slots. So what we took from that was next time we do our RFPs, extend it out. And
Okay.
we've done that with other grant programs.
So that would
Ex-
make the
for
difference,
45
is what I'm hearing?
Yes, if you extend-
extending that RFP time, but how does that equate to the deadline of the money's got to be spent by a certain amount of time?
This year, there was no way because we had to stick to the 30.
So when did we find out about it? When did we find out that we had that funding, that it had to be spent within 6
Every
months
year,
or so?
every year
So
when
it's
we get
every
the
year?
agreement, the clock starts ticking.
Oh, man.
And by 9:30, you have that encumbrance deadline.
And so how can we improve that process?
It's difficult to say because the county tells us how much we're going to get allocated.
Ah.
And then you have the agreement and the funding amount can change or shift. Just depends.
Okay. Yes, sir.
If
Councilman Johnson.
we guest appearance, if we were to extend it by 15 days, and then say in this instance that would push us to the next council meeting in August, would that still work? Or if we're approving in the first council meeting in September?
As long as we have the agreement executed by September 30th.
Okay,
with
that's
an
what I'm thinking.
organization.
We can get those 15 days and then approve it in September 1st or whenever first meeting in September in the future. But I'm with you. This reminds me with the CDBG. Originally we were just having the same applicants over and over and over. And I'm like, man, we gotta get more. But staff did a great job kind of just getting it out there. So I'm with you, Deputy Mayor. I know what you mean.
is there a way we can throw a net a little bit larger area? It seems like the same. Would that help the process? Where I'm not sure how we put out the RFP.
The RFP.
Yeah, how the process of which we do that. Can we cast our net a little bit larger?
We can
just to see, because like I said again, you know, I've seen sitting on the CDBG what I'm seeing, I'm not lacking, and truly, it's all about how we, you know, at the end of the day, we got to be good steward there. And I want to make it clear, it's nothing against Macedonia. I just, you know, want to make sure I'm being a good steward for our tax dollars. Thank you.
Is that? Thank you. Yeah, Madam Chairman.
Can I
Oh,
check?
that was the building.
Yes, I'm gonna
issues.
actually give it back to Joan, and also maybe she can talk about timelines if there's anything else to share there.
Yeah. So I'll start with saying something that Evie didn't touch on, but it's critical to this, is that the home program requires us to allocate a certain amount of funding to ACHOTO annually. And ACHOTO is a HUD certified community housing development organization. There are only two in Brevard County. Macedonia is one of those two. CHI is the other. And so this meets that set aside. So I just wanted to kind of note that. The other thing.
So the option is it has to be a CHOTO. There's only two,
There's only two in Brevard County.
and the other one pulled out.
The other one didn't submit.
Didn't even submit.
Right. So this meets that requirement. The other thing to note is because they are a CHOTO, they are familiar with the program, they are familiar with the funding organizations and things to help secure funding for affordable housing, which, as you know, can be very difficult. So in that, you know, with the previous funding they had, which speaks to the building permit, they had to, once they got the funds from the city, they had to go and negotiate the purchase and acquisition of that. So that takes time. When they did submit their permit in June, and I can see in IMS, there's a series of activities that happened. And this is because it's an affordable housing project, building department expedited the reviews on this. So you can see they go back and forth June, July, August, and I can see all the staff's comments. And what they were disapproved for is not something that's out of the ordinary for a building permit. And then on the land development review, that's more of a technicality. It was denied because they didn't have a pre-application meeting. So it's just little nuances that are not unusual for land development sort of reviews.
Deputy Mayor. Okay.
So
Councilman Johnson.
So when are the encumbrance and expenditure deadlines again?
The encumbrance deadline is September 30th. The expenditure deadline is based upon our agreement with Macedonia, and I'd have to ask Evie to speak to that a little bit more in detail if you have questions about that. Where we're at currently in the calendar is if we put it back out, more than likely we're probably going to get the same applications, to be honest. The other issue is that when we put it out, depending on the amount of days, staff has to then review those, and then it has to go back to CDAB unless council decides here tonight that they want to skip that piece. And I guess I would ask city attorneys if that's something that we can do, and then bring that forth, and then we've got to execute the agreement.
I don't see why that can't be an option.
To start the whole process again?
Well, I'm open. I'm open to different options because we don't have to. Just like with some items with the planning and zoning, we don't have to bring it back to them.
My concern is what she said, that if we do that, chances are we're going to get the same application.
But the second person might put something forth better. Competition.
The same
That
person.
causes Macedonia to put forth something better too.
I would, yeah.
Okay, so let's move in that direction. So we're just not gonna move with this item, right? What do you need, Madam?
Well, I just want to be clear. So you want us to put it back out for probably as much time as we possibly can, but still giving us time to review it and bring it back to you before the September deadline?
That's what I just heard.
I just want to make sure, like, is that possible on the timeline? Are you saying it's, I mean, I don't know enough about the timeline.
Okay.
For
So should we
notifying
have
things.
Evie's come up to see if Can you
Yeah.
break down the timeline?
Are we keeping the same RFP?
Yeah, the same RFP is the question. So for seniors and veteran housing,
The scope is fine. I mean, yeah, we.
I
agree,
think,
council
yeah,
agreed
it
on the
was, it
scope.
was seniors, and I thought veterans were part of it as
Right.
well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember the veterans part.
So they're looking at the calendar now. We can talk through it if you'd like.
Because the second council meeting is September 19th for the month of September.
I don't know what public notice requirements they have for that program.
Yeah, what sold me was the veteran portion to this.
Yeah.
Because
I think the scope is good. It's just
product.
I mean, if for some
correct.
if for some reason they can't, we have more to look at, we could always just, not make a decision on this tonight. We can always come back to you on the 13th. And if we
Okay.
can't work it out, I mean, that's another way we could do it. We'll try our very best to give you a new schedule and timeline that gets more applications in.
Okay.
Um,
I wish they would have stayed. They left early.
I think
could have probably answered a
staff
little more.
shared that I believe when consent got passed, they thought their item was approved, so they missed that somehow. So that's why they left. Yeah.
So with the timeline, we're discussing the announcements, because I remember last meeting, we missed a few opportunities because we thought we had enough time for the announcements. As I made it clear already, I really like the comptroller. Maybe we could revisit that in the near future. I call it an IG, you call it, comptroller, but ultimately that's, oh, did you? Oh, awesome. But, yes, any determination?
So it's going to be tight. But if we were to reissue the same RFP tomorrow, we would close the RFP on Friday, so tomorrow, August 2nd, close the RFP on Friday, August 23rd. We would be in a hustle to get the staff review and everything compiled for September 5th, but that would have to be the latest we could go to council because we don't want to be up against the deadline of the September 19th and trying to get the agreement and everything executed. Because once we get too close to that deadline, I think it's.
And I think the direction of council would be same scope, but better product would.
And we can add, it won't take long to add in the RFP that property is going to be required to be deeded in perpetuity for affordable
Yes.
housing with a
Yes.
reversionary clause.
City can take over.
Okay, cool, good direction. All right, so we'll bypass this. This will go. What do you need on this item?
Are we
Terry?
bypassing CDAB?
This is good enough?
Yeah, staff is clarifying,
Table it?
skip CDAB.
Say again?
So you want to skip CDAB,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Yes, we will. I don't think you have to make a motion at all. We can just leave it.
All right.
If that's okay with Terry,
I'm
I'm
gonna
sorry.
table it. I would just recommend making a motion to table it. You don't need a date certain, but you can motion to table.
Okay.
Motion to table.
I got a motion to table by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Just before we go to item 8, just wanted to talk a little bit. I know I didn't pull it, but just item 7 with the BCRA funds. Keep in mind, it's going to our road maintenance. At the same time, I still want to consider the incentives for the economic development portion. So I just want to keep that in everyone's
sir.
mind with that. But this is all going towards that.
Yes, sir.
So item number 8.
Mr. Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. I know I'm not talking a lot of money, $23,000, but I like seeing multi-purpose tools. I normally carry one on my back pocket, multi-purpose, instead of just being locked into one thing. You could have the very nice small truck or anything else that would be dual purpose, would still accomplish the same thing of the ability to travel down the interstate for your training purposes and stuff like that. So make it a dual purpose, right? If the city manager can drive a pickup truck that looks better than most cars, then surely we can have a truck that looks good as a Toyota Corolla for hauling people around town, but we'd still be able to use it for other functions. Just to make it multi-purpose instead of just a car. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Sherman, any comments?
No, sir.
Okay. I need a motion. Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Mayor Medina. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 2-0. We are now on item number 1, procurement. Madam Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item that goes back quite a ways. We've already talked about a little bit. I want to kind of give you an update from our last real discussion on this project, which was an executive session that we had earlier in June regarding a property that needed to be acquired to complete the road intersection project. We have had a lot of efforts since that executive session to try to acquire what was needed. We've been unsuccessful. At this point, the construction activity on the project, the intersection project, has been limited, and the city's ability to meet the needs of the intersection, not just to be completed in a timely manner, but also to meet the timelines of neighboring parcels that are under development, which includes the commercial entities where Publix is located. Our ability to meet their timelines, the window of that is shrinking significantly. After the meeting we had on Monday on site with the owners and their attorneys and our attorneys attempting to work it out, there was still no forward movement on that and no clear path to get them to agree. So we've been working rapidly this weekend and prior to that to look at other options. The option we're bringing before you is an option to basically change the way the road is being built. So it kind of describes it in here. I'll lean on my technical people for more clarity as you need it. But essentially, we're looking at, instead of the original design, which is what's built into the contract, to put base rock down and then pave on top of that. This changes the scope to be asphalt paving only, so no base rock. That does a couple of things for us. It enables us to get the project going faster on the other side of the road. We're also looking at changing the southern end of the road project, so the intersection will not go quite as far, to basically change the design there to avoid the conflict with this parcel. Some of that requires Brevard County review and approval because they are the permitting agency on this. So we're working through that with them. Ultimately, the scope for that change, the design change, which will actually shorten the road, will result in a deductive change order, but I don't have those numbers for you today. So I can't tell you what those will be. I know it will be a reduction, but what that is, staff is still looking at. But essentially what this would do, this change order would enable us to change the scope of how we're building the road. It's called overbuild. We would be doing asphalt runs up and down the road on the east side, and it would be done through night work, which is also part of the additional expense. But this would absolutely meet the timelines to complete the intersection before the end of the year, to make sure it is done, ready, available, and accessible for Publix who wants to open before Thanksgiving. And that's been their timeline, to make sure that they can complete and meet those goals as well. So there's certainly more we can talk about if you have questions, but that in a nutshell is why we're bringing this change order forward tonight. And I'm happy to talk through that with y'all.
Why are we in this position, man?
So my understanding is about 3 years ago, one of our engineering design professionals made a mistake. Should have handled this at the beginning and did not. And that is why we're where we're at today.
This is a costly mistake, man. Any questions, council? Speaker cards, Deputy Mayor. We're on procurement 1.
Bill back.
Mr. Barry.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. Little bit of history. July 2022, budgeted in for this project, 5.5 million. December of 2022, they had an overcost run of $22,000. May of 2024, they had an overcost run of 923,000, just shy of $1 million. Now here we are in July of 2024. You want 1.2 million. That's a total of 7.7 million for what started out as a $5.5 million. That's a 40% overrun based on design engineering. Okay, that being said, right, could it be because the city currently has $17 million in Nexus 32909 that people start saying, oh, we see this money, let's see if we can get it? This is how optics appear to Bill Batten. Yet the residents have to pay for a $9 million bond for the St. John's Heritage Parkway to Babcock, from 95 to Babcock. And the conflict, right? Emerald Lake's included. Since we have second point, since we have $17 million sitting in the kitty right now, can't we use it to pay off the $9 million bond that will lower our annual debt payment, lower our total budget, to help our total budget? We could use that and pay it down. We'd be done. Then you wouldn't have me talking about how I have to pay $9 million for something the builders were supposed to have done, right? Next question with this road being in on the county and the city, the county is planning on bringing in all this new development. They have a whole new development coming in down there that they want to build, but they don't have water and they don't have sewer, but they're getting ready. They're talking with us that we provide it for them. I understand it's a dual process governing, but let's see what they're kicking in to help us to try and make some of this stuff work. Because if we say, no, we're not going to provide you water and sewer, they've lost an entire massive development down there that they spent millions trying to get. We have a little bit of power now too. I don't want to piss off my county commissioners, but sometimes you got to squeak to get the oil. Remember, this is all because of a design engineering failure that we just spent another $3 million on for St. John's Heritage Parkway for design engineering. I don't want to repeat history, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speaker cards? Madam Sherman?
Yes, sir. So on the $9 million bond for the original St. John's Heritage Parkway out there, from the beginning of the project till now, it has not been paid with any general fund taxpayer dollars. It's all been paid out transportation impact fees from the beginning till now. That is one of the debt service items that finance reviews every year with our outside financial advisors to see if it's beneficial to the city to pay it off early. I know they're meeting again with the team actually tomorrow, so I'll know if that one is potentially a good fit for what you're describing, which is to pay it off early, use the impact fees. If that's doable, we'll look at it. Those impact fees, though, are also, what we have right now for the future needs for widening Babcock, for example, which is tens of millions of dollars. So we'll have to look at that if it's an option. And regarding all of the projects in the county and the city in the south part, we are working with their public works team, their growth management team. There's a lot of coordination that goes on between our agencies on these projects. They reached out to us just today about one of the projects, the Rolling Meadows Lake area. So we're going to be talking with them soon about that. We believe that with that area down south working together, we actually can. The goal is to get more out of the developers, whether they're in the city or the county, to get more out of them to, meet our public safety needs and those issues. So we're working on that.
And right along that same vein is the transportation impact fees.
Yes, sir.
That we're looking at and then increasing after that study.
As we do, Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
As we do that same mind frame, we may want to consider looking for recreation as well. Get some parcels, potentially another community center. So we have northwest, northeast, Regional park takes a lot of acreage, but at least a community center. Yeah, regional park as well. It's a lot of
Yeah,
acreage, but
there's
we can
areas.
get
There's
that,
property out
that
there.
is true. True.
There's an
But
incentive.
community center at least, pickleball.
Pickleball center.
But yeah, it's
Yes, sir.
very.
Copy that. So we're on procurement. No other speaker cards, Deputy Mayor?
No, sir.
All right. So, gentlemen, I need a motion. What's your pleasure?
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. Councilman Johnson.
I would just like to make sure we also review any other projects from the engineer, being that we're already this far in. I know, yeah, that's all.
So if I'm hearing Councilman Johnson correctly, we need to make sure, review all these issues. It is a costly mistake, so I'm in agreement with you. Perhaps we don't know what else downrange.
We're already working on it,
fixing,
sir.
But we
Yeah.
definitely need some QA,
Yes, sir.
quality assurance on this. And that not just this project, but all projects that are coming up.
Agreed.
Deputy Mayor?
Mayor, I don't have anything to add, man. It's you guys said it all.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We're now on new business item number 2. Madam Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a series of purchases of vehicles for the fire department using impact fees. It was mentioned earlier, it's about $6 million in impact fees. This is one item that you'll see tonight, but you're going to see an even larger discussion item at your next council meeting on August 13th, as we are rapidly trying to provide funding solutions for the public safety needs and specific to the fire department. What this item does is it prepares us in several areas. It brings in vehicles that are for training, but more importantly, beyond the training vehicles that are in here are things like another fire tender that is significant for the 32909 area. It's going to bring in the ability to have 3 new high water vehicles that are also kind of double as brush trucks, which we need to service the city. And the one that I'm most excited about are the item where we mentioned bringing in 5 squad vehicles. The squad vehicles are the vehicles that you staff with 2 firefighters. They're smaller. They're able to quickly deploy to medical calls is what they are usually used for. And one of these squads being purchased here actually enables us to create a situation where we can meet one of our short-term goals to begin to address the call response time in the southeast part of the city, which is to have a squad vehicle, staff it, and house it. I use housing is not the right term, but to have it located at Sunrise Elementary. We've been in conversation with the principal. They like that idea. They're willing to work with us on it. So what we would do is, as soon as we get the vehicle outfitted, ready to go, staffed, which we have staffing to do on overtime right now, we'll have more staff in October because of the new positions you all had approved and because of vacancies we're preparing to fill. So what will happen in our goal is within just a couple of months is to have an actual squad staffing and stationed at Sunrise Elementary during the peak call times, the times when we know we have the most calls on an average day. And that will begin to help us on our quest to solve that problem. On the heels of that, and I know this isn't the item, but I'll tell you part of what's coming up at the next meeting is the additional phases of our plan, which is to procure temporary stations. We have a location off of Mariloma that's been identified. We'd like to put a temporary station. It's not cheap, but we know we need to do that. And if we are able to put a temporary station separately from that, we're working on the plan for the fully built out, the location, the building of a new fire station, but that takes time. So the short-term solution is a squad now. On the heels of that, come behind with a temporary station in the southeast. We're also talking about one for the northwest, across from Heritage High School. And we have vehicles that we're able to acquire within, basically a 6-month time frame that will help us expand beyond the squad concept at a temporary station. So in other words, there's an engine that we're looking at that would be available in December, January timeframe, which is unusual because usually they take months and months to build. If someone canceled the order, we're evaluating that now to bring that back to you because we'd like to use that for the fire station in the southeast part of the city as well. So we're trying to rapidly put all the pieces together to get the staffing, get the equipment, get the stations set up down there as well as the northwest. So this item is about just the vehicle. So more to come when we discuss that at the August 13th meeting.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know, but I think these two-man teams are really critical in providing emergency care. Are they equipped with the Lucas device? I guess that's more for the chief. He's not in his head.
Yeah, he is. Would you
because
like him to come up anyway?
Yeah, well, yes.
Sure, come on up.
Because I've seen those in operation, and it's just to get there to our residents in a timely manner. I think this is the best way we could provide that public safety. Chief?
Yes, sir. It will include a life pack and the Lucas, all advanced life support tools that we
All
need. Everything that you have on the engine right now and on the two current squads will be on these, in addition to some firefighting equipment so that when they get on scene with something like that, they've got their protective gear, forcible entry tools, fire extinguishers, things like that.
Two-man team.
Two-man team.
Mobile two-man team.
Sir, yes, sir.
EMTs.
Paramedics.
That is gun ho. That's like a really first responder just hitting the pavement. So thank you for that. That's I love that they're so mobile in those F1. What is it? 150s, 450s.
Well, what we're getting is the F450s with it looks like a utility body on the back. If those of us that are old enough to remember the old TV show Emergency Squad 51.
Yes, sir.
It's pretty much identical to that.
Copy that. I'm old enough to see that. I actually love that show. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank
Appreciate
you.
I have a it might be for the chief.
Chief, you might want to do an about face.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Because I'm playing back the presentation you did for us, sir, and I appreciate it. Would it be more efficient to allocate all this towards Fire Station 8 to at least get that going? Or
Well, we are working on Station 8, but right now we don't have the equipment to actually respond to some of these calls. And where I'm having a problem is we're using our engines we have two squads, 1 and 2. And then the engine companies and the ladder companies, our ladder company takes care of the rest of this. So those fire apparatus are out of service when we're running on medical calls. And then when we go to the south end of the city, what a lot of people don't understand is when we're in the north end of the city, we look like we're really heavy staffed. But as we move the apparatus and resources south to respond to calls, now we start stripping the north end of the city and we have extended response times there. So these will allow us to run the bulk of our call, which is EMS, medical calls. It'll allow us to run most of those calls in these vehicles and not have to send the engines, so we can keep the engines for the fires, the accidents, the hazardous material calls, and any other ALS kind of our advanced life support calls that come in. So these are things that improve our efficiency, and we are working on trying to get, like it was mentioned, the temporary station and things like that we could get in there while we're looking to build the more permanent station.
Okay.
So it's part of the plan to just make sure we're doing as much as we can efficiently with the funds we have and utilizing the impact fees as opposed to going to general revenue.
Okay. And I misspoke. Station 9, because Station 9 is the one by Sunrise. So my apologies.
Yes.
But I know you've been working with the principal. I appreciate that, sir.
Yes, I spoke with her this morning and her 2 APs.
Yeah.
They are working on seeing if they can find a spot for us. Excuse me. So they said they'd get back with me on that there, but they were very excited to hear what was going on.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and this will prolong the life of our trucks as well, right?
Yes, sir. I did leave that out. This will increase the life expectancy of all the $1 million plus apparatus out there.
Yes, sir. Outstanding. This is thank you.
Thank you.
This is motivating, sir. Speaker.
Mr. Batten.
But we're right on the same page with that. Yes, sir.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. 6.3 million. I understand it's for your safety lines. Right? But that generates, was this in the budget presentation that we just watched? Was this 6.3 million in that budget presentation we just watched? Or is this something additional to the budget? Because we haven't even passed our budget yet. Now we're talking about spending budgets that we haven't even got to yet. I'm just curious because I'm watching it. The other question that we saw, we've heard about all the great vehicles that are there, and I understand it. To me personally, rapid response, 2 people, you can do a lot with 2 people and all the equipment in hand. You can accomplish a lot. I understand that. But the other thing in that packet was the $1.7 million for training. When you break it down, 1.7 million could buy a lot of stuff. And then I said, well, and as I was reading the package, it says those vehicles could be used someplace else, those training vehicles. So first off, what is the training vehicle? And if we can spend money on training vehicles, why don't we just spend money on vehicles that we need to fill and man the houses with, right? The other question with that one was current residency just shy of 140,000 residents. And that's what's determining how many fire stations we have, how big the city is, how have they spread out. That's determined by our population. That's what's governing all of this. Well, my suggestion is maybe we have to hold off on the growth of the city until we can find mechanisms to make our safety function coincide with the growth of the city instead of always being backtracking and trying to catch up. Case in point, they pulled it for tonight's off the agenda. We were looking at 789 homes being built just off of Malabar Road, and just for a family of 4, that would have been an additional 3,156 individuals that would have increased on. That we had to increase our fire and police response for. So my suggestion is see how we can slow the growth down until we find the mechanisms that are going to fund the police and fire. That's where I'm at with this one. But if they have 1.7 million for training vehicles, well, then I'd rather see $1.7 million into real firefighting vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, you want to call up the chief?
Yes.
As far as the training vehicles in 1.7, what we currently have is we have 2, I'll call them surplus vehicles, an engine and a ladder truck. A lot of this equipment is going on those vehicles. So those vehicles are already purchased. They've reached their end of life for average response to emergency calls. Then the vehicles that we're buying that are the actual vehicles, 3 of them will be to take the training officers with a lot of this equipment to the stations and directly deliver the training in the stations where we can do that, keep those units in their area in case there's a call. That way we don't have to move coverage around and extend response times. So that's what those are. And then a couple of the others, I think it's 2 others, are just vehicles that are staff vehicles. But with the purchase of those staff vehicles, we now have the availability of taking current staff vehicles and making up to 3 squads that we can get into service in a couple of months while we're waiting on the delivery of the ones we're purchasing that are in here tonight also. So it's 1.7 million, that's correct. But what it is, it's a variety of tools, it's a variety of vehicles, and it's a variety of props. In that 1.7 or that money there, a lot of that is props. The flashover container we talked about, which not only saves lives of the firefighters, but it also shows them how to reduce property loss when they get into that kind of environment. Props to show us how to ventilate a roof properly. So when we're on the roof, we're ventilating it safely and we're not falling through the roof, which happens too much. We have windows that are going to be installed in the current tower that you've purchased for us so that we can beat up the windows and force entry without damaging the current tower. We have walls in there that will also go inside of that building so that we're not in a big open void constantly going to the same place. Now we're able to switch it around so it's more like going into different homes and things like that. We also have in there, and some of these things we're not exactly sure on. I'll be honest about that right now, is infrastructure on that cost there includes water supply and electricity, concrete, those kind of things. We do not have the water to adequately run the training center. So we're looking at options on how to get water in there. Is that water lines with hydrants? Is it tanks to bring water in and store it? That kind of stuff. So we're not sure about that. That may not even materialize based on how we get it and what that's going to cost. Electricity, we have nothing out there at night to have lights, so that we're safely functioning out there while we're training. And nighttime training is required as part of our training through the ISO to reduce the fire insurance premiums. We also have in there concrete. You'll see concrete and things like that. That's to put our vehicles on when we're training for extrication, so that when we're done, we can take and clean it up and move it away instead of leaving the glass and the shrapnel and things like that from where we were extricating on the ground. Now we have unsafe conditions. We have confined space rescue and trench rescue. These are calls that we go to, but we have no place to practice on how to safely get into these environments without getting ourselves caught into a position where things are collapsing around us and we're losing the lives of firefighters. So yes, there's that 1.7 has lots of vehicles. It has the vehicles, but it also has a lot of things that we need to make the training section functional and to deliver it off-site so that we keep units in their districts and continue to do what we can to reduce the response time. And as a side part of this, these same pieces of equipment are necessary to become a state certified training center, which down the road allows us to teach, to deliver classes that we currently cannot deliver. And at the same time, down the road, if we get certified and everything works out for us, then we start generating revenue. So yes, it is there, and that's a lot of stuff, and it is phase one. But we need this to train the firefighters. If I don't have properly and safely trained firefighters, I can't deliver a service to the citizens to where that they can expect to be properly serviced by the firefighters out there, which means we need the training to save their lives like we needed to save ours.
Yeah, I like what you said about the light system as well, Chief, because I witnessed the fire in the evening, right? And it gets challenging.
Yes.
To come in. As a matter of fact, I seen one of the female firefighters take control over that fire. So it was really exciting to see. The chief's daughter, yes, I'm going to call her out, Firefighter Argello. So might as well just call it out, right? But to that end, I think one of the questions that Master Chief had was the funding aspect to it. His breakdown, if I remember correctly. What
the funding, that's all impact fees. This is all impact fees. It's not in the current budget, nor is it in the upcoming budget, because we're using the impact fees. And that's what the development, that's why it's there, is for us to take and let developers pay for the services that we need. And that's what we're doing with this project.
Thank you.
And also, I think
yeah.
the initial question was about the presentation that we had just done.
Yes.
So these are all vehicles that were, part of that presentation, right?
Yes,
So,
and it did say in the presentation, it showed on the side where we were buying these vehicles with impact fees. But we showed the overall cost of a station, and then we extracted what was going to be purchased by impact fees, thereby reducing the cost from general revenue.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
What-
you.
Any, yes, sir.
How, because I'm starting to, I see where Mr. Batten's getting at. With the training facility that we're looking at building,
It's there.
well, that we're looking to put almost $1 million towards it. Have we looked at how much we're going to make from it? Because you said you might be hosting.
How much we'll make from it?
You say
And that right now, that's going to be several years down the road. And it will cost us a lot to if we were to decide today to go ahead and make this a state certified training center, it's going to cost us millions. This is a phase-in approach, as it says here in the document. This is phase one. It's probably going to take a few years to get us to that point where we're able to do that, because what we don't have in here is a need for classrooms. The state says we have to have a certain amount of classroom space. We have to have areas for them to take their showers, restrooms, things like that. That's not in here yet, but we're working towards that. Now, as far as what the revenue is down the road, that would be, once we get done, that's kind of, I don't want to say unlimited, but it's based on what we put in the ground and the infrastructure. The technical rescue training, that's a high cost training, that where if we turn around, we can get several $100s to bring per student to bring them there for that kind of training. Other trainings might be only $50 or $100, but you're going to have those people coming through more frequently than you will in the technical rescue, the confined space, and that kind of stuff. So the exact number
It's
is
hard.
based on
Yeah.
what we put on the property.
Okay. Do you have an estimate of how many of these state facilities that are already? I know. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm
Like,
going
would you
to
say
say
more
every
than 20?
county
Yeah.
pretty much has one, so
One.
that's at least 67.
Okay.
There's some counties that have two. Their fire departments have they have their own standalone training centers that are state certified. That way they can teach classes and not have to go pay elsewhere. Because like right now, if I wanted to do confined space training or I wanted to do any of that technical rescue stuff, I would have to go somewhere and pay them hundreds of dollars per student to get that training. Now, once we get this certification, now what I'm doing is paying for supplies and our training staff teaches it. So there's that reduction of where we're saving. And then I can tell you, this was, if we move forward and this is down the road and everything goes right, when I did this same thing in Coral Springs, our training center there, and that's one of 3 in that county, we turned around and we covered the revenue for all training for city employees. We covered the cost of the facility, the equipment that we needed, but we had to have the seed money to get it started. So the return on investment was huge. When I left there, we were bringing over $1 million a year in class revenue.
Okay.
I'm not guaranteeing that's what we're going to have.
Yeah,
right
I understand.
away here.
Yeah,
We've
but we
gotta
don't
work
know
to
yet.
it.
The only other thing. This got loud. Okay. I don't see the training vehicles as an immediate need. I feel like that can be used elsewhere. Now I'm not taking away from the 1.7, but the 406,000, because the vehicles, they're not going to be used all the time, so they'll just be sitting, from my understanding.
There's 3 pickup trucks in there.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to put some of these props and take them to the stations. We have no means of getting them to the stations. If we didn't have the vehicles to get them to the stations, then we'd have to bring the trucks into the training center, which is going to increase response time while those trucks are out. Additionally, these vehicles, these training officers are also our health and safety officers, and they respond to major events as an incident command support person. So they're able to function in the capacity of safety officer and things like that, accountability, depending on what the incident commander needs them to do.
Okay.
So it's more than just a training vehicle, but it's assigned to the training division to carry the training props, and we're using it for other things at the same time.
Okay. Apologies for all the questions. I'm going back and forth because we had
that's all right.
we had the
That's what I'm
40
here
page
for.
yeah, we had the 40-page slide a month ago, and then
Right.
I'm trying to make sure.
And we're trying to
Yeah.
address a lot of that from that presentation in this document.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure because I remember there was a lot. You gave us a lot on that. It was a lot. So I want to make
we are
sure
expensive and we have a lot of needs. I apologize. That's just the nature
so
of
I'm-
the beast.
and I understand that. So I just want to make sure we're using it for the best for downrange. That's what I was
This
thinking.
document has been torn up for several months
Okay.
and rewritten and stuff to make sure we're getting the most efficient use out of what we're doing. It's been ran through legal for their approval. They have been extremely helpful in telling us what we can and we cannot do.
Okay.
You know, like the staff, my staff has thrown ideas back and forth. This has been a well-researched document to get us to the next level. It's kind of like the foundation.
Thank you.
Thank
I think,
you.
I think the bottom line is this is exactly what's needed to save lives, right? Ultimately, what we're looking at is improving our public safety, but those are my thoughts. No additional speaker cards? So I need a motion.
So
I'll second it. So I got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Mayor Medina. Deputy Mayor?
Mayor, I think a lot's been said. The chief was pretty clear as to answering all our questions and some of the concerns as well. I mean, the needs are clear, they're there. So I'm willing to truly put our money where our mouths are and just approve this.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that this is not only training aspect, but those two man teams, and then at the same time, I think Councilman Johnson, I think you nailed it when it comes to the training facility. This has got to be this is a huge elephant, right? And I think I said this the last time, is you're taking a bite out of it each and every time. And this is a bite. It is the fire impact fees. And there's a huge need. And I know for a fact that these two-man teams equipped with Lucas device and those critical equipment, that critical equipment would save a life. I've had the honor and blessing to be part of that at one outing with our first responders. So I wholeheartedly believe our primary goal is to provide public safety. So that's why I seconded this motion.
Is there?
Yes.
That's what I'm gonna say. Is there? You can shake your head yes or no. Is there already a other city or municipality or the county with this training facility? Okay.
Brevard County.
Okay.
So any other questions or comments that you wanted to, I have a motion.
I'm
and a
just
second.
thinking it might be, I don't know, might be cheaper to use theirs. Or, yeah.
So you want to come back up?
I'm sorry. I'm
'Cause I
because
know
this.
that
I don't
we-
think we've ever approved. Yes, it's a need, but I don't think we've ever approved the amount this much in one.
Yeah.
One. That's
I didn't understand the question. All right,
Oh.
here's the
Brevard
question.
County.
There's another. There's Melbourne or West. You said county. You said
Yeah.
Brevard County has one.
Brevard County, it's about 25 minutes outside of the city of Palm Bay, off 95 in Ocala. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Yeah, easy. out to the west.
Yes.
Out to the west.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
By the flea market.
Yeah.
So that means we're taking that truck out of service for, if it's a
For
4-hour
having-
class,
okay.
at least 5 hours that we're going to have to cover that area.
Any other questions?
Yeah. I just. It's. I don't think since it's been a large chunk.
No,
like
this is
that's
it's
all.
huge, but
Yeah.
there's a huge deficiency.
There's a huge need. Yes, sir.
need. So I got a motion. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Mayor Medina. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 3-0. We are now on reports. Ms. Councilman Johnson,
I'm good, sir.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I may take Councilman Johnson's few minutes to go. I have a couple of items to address. I'll start with the least excited item. Yeah, first, I'd like you gentlemen to consider to expedite the process of the appointment. Currently, we're on our second meeting, so the next appointment scheduled on our next council meeting. What I'm proposing is to take the opportunity to do it during our land development code special meeting. Then that would give the appointee the opportunity to sit in that meeting, and also the first meeting in September, they'll be good to go. That'll be the official first scheduled council meeting. I know currently it's scheduled to take place on the first meeting of September. Am I saying that right? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that is correct. Right. The appointment, the ranking.
So the ranking, you're talking about the ranking process for appointing, it was going to be held at the August 13th.
August 13th. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So instead of doing it on the 13th, we would do it on the 8th. That'll give the appointee the opportunity to sit in that meeting on the 13th. That'll be their first official meeting. That's one part. Second part to that, historically, an appointment, the appointee don't get to swear to uphold the Constitution, the state constitution, and our charter. my understanding, that's the historical fact where they don't they get appointed, then they start working. Same thing for a board, because the process is the same process as a board. So they when you get appointed on a board, you don't get to swear, right? You just go ahead and you have to adhere to the sunshine law and so on and so forth. But as far as taking the oath, that's not historical. So what I would like for us to consider moving forward, hopefully we won't have to do this too often, but doing an appointment as well. To me, it shouldn't be any different. Rather, if you're gonna sit here, you should take the oath. That's something I wanted to throw out there. Number one is to expedite the process, do it in our next meeting, and number two, for that individual, potentially be ready that night because they get to sit part of that meeting as the appointee and to be ready to take the oath. So if you guys would.
So you looking
give
for
me-
consensus, I take it?
Correct.
So first of all, you know that I believe that system's flawed, right? But to that end, I think that's a great argument of raising your right hand for anyone to sit on this dais, right? I'm not supportive of rushing the process. I say we play it out the way it's already is. But again, I'm just one person on this dais. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about that, but I just feel that if you raise your right hand, it should be, if you're going to sit on this dais, you should raise your right hand. I'm not for rushing the process as it is, but be that as it may, you gentlemen, the consensus is it lies with you because I'm a nay on that.
Is expediting, are you looking at it from a
It's a
budget
week
standpoint?
before.
Are you
It's
looking-
surely a week before. That just give that individual an opportunity to sit into that land development code meeting as the appointee. So we basically doing it the week before instead of doing it on the 13th, because that's when it's scheduled to take place.
That's exactly
Correct.
right.
So
That's
just doing it a week before. And
Ms. Leffler, how many applications do we have?
We have 5.
As of this afternoon, it was 5. We may have had an additional, which may be 6, but it's either 5 or 6 right now.
Yeah, I'm fine. Definitely raise your hand on the Bible during the oath. I'm with that for sure. I'm fine with expediting it too. My thing, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, what's
All
your
right.
next item?
That is that. It's a little bit of good news to share with us. So
Bengals?
yeah. So this is just to help me welcome Josiah Joel Felix. That's my grandson.
Okay.
As of Tuesday night, 9:00, I'm officially a grandpa, and
Officially?
okay, officially, yeah.
That number one?
That's number one. That's
I'm
what,
a
yeah,
veteran,
that's-
big boy.
So just wanted to welcome him and shared with the
Josiah Joel
Yeah.
JJ.
Yeah, that's my grandson. Yeah, so I'm excited. Just wanted to welcome and share with the crowd.
What a cutie.
This concludes my report.
What
Thank
a
you.
cutie.
What was that? Pretty much.
Already.
What do you say?
It's palming the ball.
The ball.
Oh.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it, sir.
All right. So for my reports, I just want to give a shout out to Palm Bay Fire Rescue, Palm Bay PD. Man, they took it to the courts. They did a great fundraiser. Let me share with you. It was an exciting nail biter, right? These guys were really, they put it on. I like Dean. He was inside, man. He was a beast. Yeah, Chief of Jello played, but Dean was like the man inside. He did an outstanding job controlling the center. It was exciting. It was a 3-point edge. Palm Bay PD won, but I think Fire Rescue is going to challenge them next year. Let me encourage everyone to come out and support our first responders. It was a great experience for me, right? I had a great time. I think I had more fun than the players because I'm able to root and go back and forth. But anyway, let's always support our men and women that are out there doing fundraisers for themselves as well. Got to give a shout out to Heritage High School. The principal, he was actually one of the referees, giving up his time. So it was a collaborative effort, a community event, and a lot of folks did come out. So next year, I want to see all council out there cheering on. Now, I'm not a baller, but I could play some baseball. I think I still got some skills there, but
Mayor, I was
awesome.
I was out of the country, so it might affect.
All right, well, maybe next year. And then I wanted to share a little bit about the status of our public works, because as you know, we're in the midst of hurricane season. So I've asked Madam Sherman if Valentino could come up and give a brief update. Want to make sure our canals are good, what's being scheduled. We even have something out there that may come and give us a downpour of rain. So I want to do just an update to our community and make sure that everyone's right on point to know, hey, we got to clear these canals.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm happy to report that from last year's kind of where we're at with the tickets, close to like 800 open tickets for trenching. We're down to about 140. Those coming in within the last months because obviously we're in the rainy season.
Yeah.
But like I informed Ms. Sherman, we've got great communication with the Tillman District where all of our water flows. Just monitoring those water levels to make sure that we're keeping an eye out for the tropics. We know what's kind of coming, some rain, so we want to be prepped for that. So good communication there. Our trenching tickets, like I said, are at the lowest they've been. So we're in great shape. I'm happy to report that.
And what about the Lockmar area? Because I know we have some challenges there as well.
So we completed the canal dipping in 50. We're heading over to 45. So a lot of that effort has been in preparation for these events.
Okay.
So I think we're in a good spot.
Okay, well, we have something brewing out there, so I just wanted the community to understand that you guys are right on target. We did reduce those tickets dramatically, so thank you for that, and just want to give that update, sir. Thank you.
And kudos to the staff that we have. Very proud of the team that's being led by Jose Sanabria, who is our new operations manager. Eric, the guys in the back, they're amazing. You guys are going to see them out there if we get into a crunch where we're responding to any drainage issues. The guys, they'll be on call and we'll be on point.
All right, well, outstanding job, Public Works. Way to go, team. Outstanding job. So that concludes my reports, Madam Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one item, but before I get to that, I'd like Joan to provide an update. She's been interacting with staff on the item that we discussed, tabling, so that we could do the the additional advertisements. And I think we have a couple hurdles that have been brought to my attention that I need her to share with you. So we originally thought we could do it, but there may be some snags. So.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Sherman. This is about consent number 6, Macedonia CDC's application for the home funds and the donation of the 6 properties on Northview Street. So we do have a 30-day requirement for HUD to advertise the RFP before we accept applications. So this means that the earliest we'd be able to advertise would be sometime early next week. 30 days from then, we can accept all proposals and applications. And then staff would have to review them and bring those forth to council.
Are we still in the time frame?
No, sir.
So we need action today.
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen. Are we legally, Mr. Edwards? We haven't closed our meeting. Can we proceed with this?
Yes, you're just going to bring, because you basically what you said was you're going to table it.
Yes.
Until the next meeting. So now you can just bring it back, but you have to vote to bring it back. Move to bring it back.
Move to bring it back next meeting. Are we still in the time frame, or bring it back now?
No.
If you can either do it now or next meeting.
If we brought it back next meeting, we would still be within our time frame because either way, we're not going to make the deadline to advertise and reopen it for another. We won't make it within the deadline.
So you need it today?
Yeah. Well, if we brought it back, we tabled it and brought it back on August 13th, we would still be within our deadline. If council denies it tonight or denies it on the 13th, we're not going to meet our deadline. If you vote on it tonight or you vote on it August 13th, we will still meet our deadline. So if you vote to approve, I mean.
So I don't want to complicate this, right? But do you think we'll get a more improved project by next meeting, which is a week?
We won't
what
be
is it
able
for
to
now?
even accept applications.
Mayor, if
okay.
I may still, since we already tabled it, I would ask that we bring it back next week. I mean, regardless, we're going to be, I'd like to make sure the applicant is here to, at least we can have that dialogue, right? Give them the fair share. I want them to hear us out, hear me out, hear us out, and hopefully they can, but nothing gonna change as far as what the item is, right? Is that good with you? Yeah.
So you want to
bring it
move?
back.
You need a motion for
No.
this to come back.
No, because you've already tabled it. So if we're gonna just continue with the tabling, we've already done it.
And you're gonna just bring it back next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, you don't
And
need a
let the-
motion for that.
No, you've already
Okay.
done it.
All right, cool. All right. Mr. Edwards, any reports?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Any speaker cards? Sailor Stice? Yeah. Maybe.
I hate this dice.
I just want to take a moment
So
to,
weird.
Robert Stice, 1796 Windbrook Drive. Thank you for looking down the road at a box, as it were, to get some additional capacity on the south side to help mitigate that fire response time. I think you hit it on the head, Mr. Mayor. You know, in my mind, your number one priority of council is to protect. And that's what we're looking at. So appreciate you doing that. There's a couple different ways to slice that. You hear people talking about you should have just bought another piece of equipment, but you get two firemen down there with some capacity. They can kind of bide their time until some help arrives. So proud of you for doing that and stepping out of the box. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? So yeah, Master Chief, and then Mr. Agari raised his hand.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. A couple of real quick ones. When we're looking at the funding for building affordable housing, we have certain criteria, but if we look for, I know this sounds rude and sociably unacceptable, but we can build metal frame homes cheaper than we can build other homes. It still provides us with that quick accomplishment. We could get 3 for the price of 1 just by going with metal buildings instead of others that come in prefab. We can build them quicker. It's just something to consider. I don't know how our codes and ordinance come in, but I know several people that live in them now, and you walk in the house, you don't know the difference. But it's definitely less expensive. That's number one. The other one was I brought out before that when we go to the city's website and you click on the GIS mapping, that we don't get any of the tax collectors aerial. It's not available. And so I use that a lot when I'm when I look up a report, I like to see what's actually there. I now have to leave our website, go to the tax collector's website to look at their maps under aerial. So I don't know why it's not. A nice little banner comes up and says it's not available. So I'm just going to try again if I could get that brought back somehow. The other one was I appreciate driving on Mitten Road. It is such a sweet change. It's great. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, that's right. Thank you, public, for spending $150 million because that's what paid for that road. Right. The last one was on the appointment of C3. did we meet everybody's criteria that was trying to submit? Did we run, did that time frame passed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Agari? Yes, sir. I wonder if Master Chief Batten's speeding down Minton Road.
Yeah, good night, Council. I am Alfie Agar from 1680 Main Street, Northeast Palm Bay. On that same appointed topic, I was thinking, I just have a suggestion. Could we wait until after the primary election to appoint someone for the seat? Because the time is so close, and it's a possibility that somebody could come through with a 50% plus one. And appointing someone this week and somebody came in with a 50% plus one may cause a conflicting issue right here. I'm just saying, it's just a suggestion. The other thing is, where the impact fees is concerned, I keep saying to myself, the word impact fee explains itself. We're collecting impact fee in whatever section the development are going on. Why don't we go ahead and spend that fee in the same community? Say, for instance, Malabar Road and the Parkway. We have such a traffic jam on Emerson, entering to the Parkway on Pace, and we have so much thousand houses going up down there. So we must collect the amount of impact fee that we can put in a turn lane, a traffic light, and stuff like this, because the impact fee is collecting because these development causing the impact in that community, right? That's what I thought. So I think, we should focus more on these areas. I keep saying stuff about the public work department. I think our public work department can make money to maintain their department. In a sense, just like I was looking at the agenda tonight, and I see we're $1.4 million going towards a contractor for piping, for putting, like drainage pipes. The public work department could bid that job too, and do the work. We bought dump trucks for them. We bought equipment. They have a couple of hundred workers. Why not they bid some of these projects and keep the money in-house instead of paying it out to the contractors all the time, private contractors, So that's just a few of my suggestions. So good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.